Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up?
Really like that.
You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Wednesday evening. Is it Wednesday? I think it's Wednesday. And with Wednesdays, we are indeed powered by Better, our friends over there. Got a loaded show for you guys as usual, but I want to start with this today. I'm going to tell you what, my stepdaddy, shout out to Mike McKinney. My stepdaddy used to always tell me, you can't hide money. No matter what you try to do, you can't hide money. If you look around closely in your everyday life, you will find the money. It can't be hidden. The older I get, though, that statement of you can't hide money, the more I've found that you can see the money. You can see it around you, but you can really hear it, right? Money talks is an old expression that everyone uses, right? We've all heard it. We've all said it. Money talks. I think the add-on to that is bullshit walks. But nonetheless, money does the talking normally in situations, except I don't know about you guys, but I've always found that money doesn't just randomly sprout a mouth and start running it, okay? Money doesn't do the talking. The people that possess the money usually do most of that talking. It seems like the money in college football nowadays is talking a whole lot louder than it ever has before. Big money boosters are now more boisterous with their support than they ever have been because they can be. They can be out on the forefront and they can do their talking. Nowadays, if you've got big checks, you're the big man on campus that you likely dreamed of being as a student at that university. No more is this truer than in Tallahassee, Florida right now, where we find our man Ingram Smith. Now, Ingram Smith is a name associated with a collective fund that you might assume has billions attached to his name, no?
That's two last names.
Yeah. How about Brooks Thomas Austin? How about three last names for you? Don't come from money, unfortunately. Ingram Smith, however, does sound like he does, right? Ingram Smith sounds like a man that definitely comes from some money. Now, here's the thing, though. To the best of my knowledge, Ingram Smith isn't absurdly wealthy, at least not personally. He spent 10 years as a sales manager while creating a Knowles-based fan podcast down there in the Florida State area, then starting his own NIL business about 20 months ago, and now he's running one of the largest collectives in college football. If I just gave you those bullet points, they don't look like the bullet points of a biography of a billionaire, right? Spent 10 years as a sales manager, ran a fan-based podcast, now is the CEO of one of the largest collective firms in all of college football. That sounds like a story I'd be interested in, and that's certainly what I was today when I did this reading. He isn't just a billionaire, right? He isn't a billionaire. In fact, he's just a fan that looked at the way that the NIL structure was currently in place at Florida State and said, you know what? That's pretty inadequate. I'm going to try to start my own. And that's exactly what he did. And now his NIL firm is the largest, like I said, the second largest in college football. It's called the Battles in NIL Collective. Originally, it's a spinoff of their original NIL collective that was directly associated with the school. Now, this man, not a billionaire in and of his own right. However, you're running a collective firm this large, you must be close to the billionaires or at least have access to the money. And that's exactly what you can guarantee he has. And the reason I know this is because my opening statement, right? Money doesn't talk. The people who have it run their mouth about having the money. And that's exactly what this gentleman, Ingram Smith, has done. In his very first public statement, okay? In his very first public statement, he let everybody know, hey, we got that bread around here and we're going to throw it. This is his very first statement publicly, okay, that he made back in 2022 when this NIL collective firm began. This was in December of 2022. Quote, I'm not going to tell you that I'm John Ruiz and that I have unlimited money, but I will tell you that we will be as competitive as we want to be in this space. John Ruiz, obviously the famous NIL donor or the face of the NIL collective down there in Miami. He is a, what do you call this? A cyber money, what is the Bitcoin? Crypto. He is a crypto millionaire, okay? And he was the forefront face of the Miami NIL collective front. And he kind of was known as one of these NIL folks that had what seemed to be a bottomless budget. In his first statement, Ingram Smith says, hey, I'm not saying I got that, but I'm saying I'm going to be really, really competitive. And if you think that's a statement that exudes confidence, listen to some of these statements that he provided Pete Nakos and the On 3 today. I want to read you this one. I call this one hey, we did that. We kept those football players. Listen to this quote. Do you keep the players in the program that you want to keep in the program? Our focus since day one has been retention. Candidly, we've never lost a player that we wholeheartedly didn't want to lose, even be that to the NFL draft within reality. Jared Verse wasn't coming back for another year. We kept guys that would have been 5th or 6th rounders that have come back and turned into 2nd and 3rd rounders. Again, I call that quote, we did that. I did that. I kept them football players on your roster. He continues. Listen to this one. This is called the Coach Points We Shoot quote right here. Quote, Mike Norvell and his staff displayed a significant propensity to use the portal as a tool. Our ability to add a competitive asset of NIL has only allowed that to transpire all the more. Now, I don't want to claim nothing. But didn't we just get a ruling about collectives and coaching staffs being able to have a united front on this? Because when NIL first got allowed, collectives and coaching staffs were technically not allowed to speak, right? This whole idea of, they displayed a significant propensity to use the portal, and our ability to add a competitive asset of NIL has allowed that to transpire. That sounds a whole lot like Coach told me the players he wanted and I went and bought them. Doesn't that sound like that? Now, it's all legal now, so it doesn't matter. But originally, this was some hairy stuff. But nonetheless, I call that one the Coach Points We Shoot confident statement provided to On 3 today. And here's the one where I call this quote the we smart, you dumb quote. All right. And this one reminded me of Bob Myers, who was the general manager or maybe the team president of the Golden State Warriors. Listen to this quote. Quote, we were one of the first collectives to just say, yeah, y'all are being very stupid if you're spending 70% of your money on high school kids. We went heavily into retention and portal. That has changed as Florida State has signed higher ranked high school prospects and will continue to do so. I don't know about you guys, but calling the rest of your sport stupid, sounds a little bit arrogant. I mean, he's kind of right.
Highly arrogant.
Highly arrogant. We probably could have used a different word than stupid.
Yeah, and it's coming from a program that hasn't had any title success or any playoff success in over a decade. Like it'd almost be one thing if Alabama were to say something like this, or even Georgia, who won back-to-back titles. But this is a program who, sure, you had an argument to be in the playoff, but you haven't been necessarily relevant until last year in a recent success.
Yeah, it's not going to get any added fans to the Florida State fan base. I don't think they necessarily care about that. But to come out and be this brash about it is a very interesting strategy. It gives vibes of kind of like trying to do we're coming for you, but no one's looking around like, oh shit.
It's not even that. It sounds like we're already on top and y'all are coming for us. Like I said, this reminds me of when Bob Myers won the second title with the Golden State Warriors, and he was basically like, hey, we're millenniums ahead of everybody else in this sport. We are so much better at what we're doing than everybody else. It's a very similar comment here from the CEO of the Battle End Collective down there with Florida State. It brings me back to the opening statement. You can't shut the money up. If you've got this kind of money and you got this kind of power and stroke and you feel like you got this kind of influence, especially on your favorite football team, you're going to be talking. You're going to be providing quotes to the folks like Pete Nakos, 100%. And all power to what Florida State's doing right now. This was an individual who noticed a market inefficiency and created one of the biggest NIL collectives in college football. They have an annual spending budget right now of $18 million. The only reportable fund that's even close is Ohio State, who reportedly has $20 million ready to spend on their roster annually. No reports in terms of a figure of what Ole Miss has got going on right now, but this is certainly one of the schools who is absolutely throwing money at the highest rates possible. Now, because every once in a while I like to do some toe-to-so's. I did toe-to-so on a couple of these story points in this article from On 3 today. I remember very vividly about, I'd say a month ago, coming onto this network and telling you, hey, House versus NCAA just got settled. revenue sharing models are coming to college football. NIL regulation is coming to college football. Don't know when, but it's going to get here eventually. And my immediate statement was, guess what? This means NIL-based recruiting funds are going to realize, hey, we've got regulation coming our way. So we're not just going to be able to siphon money out to whoever we want and buy whatever we want in the coming future, which means we better go buy whatever we need right now because we're about to have some type of regulation on this stuff. And I want to read you a quote from this article today. This comes from Ingram Smith, and he lays out exactly what I've been talking about on this network for, like I said, the better part of the last month. Quote, Power 4 institutions have spent the summer preparing for the impact of the multi-billion-dollar House settlement. Schools will opt into a revenue sharing agreement with the option to share roughly $20 to $22 million per year with the players. That number will increase over the 10-year settlement. Judge Claudia Wilkin will rule on preliminary approval of the settlement September 5th. Here's the part where I told us so. Sources across the country have told On3 that programs have offered higher packages this cycle because of the pending settlement. Quote, this is definitely the year to be a high-level football recruit, Smith said. People are making assumptions based on budgets that I don't know are going to be there. I don't know how you're going to justify paying a player $500,000 when he's your left tackle and you're paying your right tackle $40,000. Ooh, Florida State, were they involved in the David Sanders recruitment?
That's a good. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But
if you told me David Sanders got half a rack, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I was going to say it is interesting that we're talking about this in the same day that an Ohio State beat reporter is also saying that Ohio State offered David Sanders more money than their entire offensive line.
Yeah. People out here throwing that cash right now because they know we're getting regulation, guys. You're gonna sign over your name, image, and likeness on a piece of paper that is basically your national letter of intent. With that will come a set salary, whatever it looks like, probably some set percentage of the revenue sharing model that you're getting, that $20 million to $22 million. You'll get a certain set percentage of that, and that will be your salary. Well, you might ask yourself, how are we going to influence certain five-star recruits to make a commitment to our school? Because over the last 2 or 3 years, all we've had to do is be the highest bidder and maybe develop a decent relationship with them. Well, nowadays, you're going to have to develop the decent relationship with them, give them their set salary, and then maybe call the bag man and drop off some cash. We're basically going to return to what we were.
I mean, that's...
History tends to repeat itself.
Is that for the better at this point? Because the thing is, everyone seems to romanticize the way it used to be and how 15 years ago it was such a simpler sport.
You want fairness or you want parity? Because right now we don't have fairness, but we damn sure got parity.
Mm-hmm.
And under the old model, I think we had fairness, but we damn sure didn't have parity.
Felt like fairness.
It was cheating.
Yeah.
It was underground cheating that you never were known of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
It was a cloak.
And a lot of 18-year-olds had to wash a bunch of cash that they didn't know how to do. Now it's straight into their bank accounts via direct deposits. That's more ideal for the individual player nowadays. Don't necessarily think it's ideal for the sport with the Wild Wild West. All right, that was the first I told us so. Hey, the NIL-based recruiting teams, they're fitting to throw some cash. They're going to be out here recruiting at a much higher rate than they ever have before because they know there is a timeline to this supremacy on the recruiting trail via their dollar amounts. Number 2, I told you with this stuff, all right, there's going to be a bunch of people laying around in the weeds saying, hey, young man, I would love to help facilitate your relationship and facilitate these deals that you're going to be doing. And all I want is a small percentage. Well, how much is that small percentage, Johnny the agent? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I told you there's going to be some snakes in the grass. I want to read you this right here. Quote, collective agreements have become the main source of NIL dollars in college football. Lucrative roster value deals are typically negotiated by agents, with some taking the industry norm of 3%, while others going up to 15 to 20%. Agents taking 20% of high school deals right now on the up to 20% of high school deals right now on the NIL front. Be careful, young men. Be careful who you associate yourself with. Be careful the agencies you align yourself with, because there are indeed snakes in the grass. Welcome into tonight's show. We do indeed have a loaded one for you. It is Wednesday, which means we got What If Wednesday coming to you guys. There is an expansion of the college football playoff. There will now be 12 teams, which means there will more than likely 100% chance, be newcomers, first-time playoff participants in that playoff round this year. We'll try to hit the nail on the head with who those coaches or players or teams, rather, Jesus Christ, might ultimately be. We got the hot seat immunity tonight. We're going to tell you which football coaches we're going to put on the safe side of that hot seat. The SEC tiebreaker was announced today, and I found people rooting for chaos in that situation, chaos that is more than likely never going to be happening.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly trying his damnedest to win over more and more individuals via his press conference. But first and foremost, I want to go ahead and ask you, if you have not already, hit that thumbs up button. If you have not already, please subscribe to the channel. We do college football content Monday through Thursday, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock Eastern time, live every single week. That's 8 hours of live content right here. I truly believe no one does it better in the YouTube space and on the internet than we do right here. So appreciate you guys for being here. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. And if you have not already, head over to Better today and show some support to those who support us. Better now offers college football props. Enter more than or less than key stats on college football players. You can play in now 23 states, including the state of Georgia. Better is matching first-time deposits up to $250 if you use promo code Brooks or click the link in the description of this video. Really, really appreciate Better. We're going to give you guys some live picks on Thursday, which is tomorrow. We're going to give you live picks from Better tomorrow. Really appreciate those guys. And if you're a prop better, if you're someone who seeks out prop plays, Better is the place to be doing that this year. Head over to Better using our promo code Brooks today. Appreciate you guys for being here. As I mentioned just a minute ago, what do you boys want to start with today?
I don't want to answer.
Hot seat immunity?
At this point, I think
that sounds good.
Hot seat immunity.
Good.
Hot seat immunity.
Yeah.
Let's start with hot seat immunity. All right, hot seat immunity. Here's how this is going to go. There are several. I got something in my eye. There are several football coaches around college football. Let's get a little toasty. Get a little toasty under that starting that head coach's seat in that office. We're going to provide the safety card to certain football coaches like Lincoln Riley. Now, Lincoln, your hot seat immunity card comes with some, let's call them fine print bullet points, right? Fine print bullet point number 1. If Miller Moss looks anything like the other quarterbacks you've had, I'm sorry, I just can't fire you because he is far and away the least talented, I should say, of all of the great quarterbacks that he's had during his systems, whether it's Baker, Kyler, Caleb, whichever one it is, Spencer Rattler. This is by far his most least talented from a physical standpoint quarterback he's ever had. So if this joker goes for 4,000 yards passing and puts up a 38 point per game offensive performance all season long, I find it really, really hard to fire Lincoln Riley, especially if the defense shows any smidgen of improvement at all, boys. I'm giving him the immunity with some fine print. Now, you want some immunity without fine print? I think you're crazy if you fire Ryan Day. I don't care what happens this year. I think you're not lunatic, but I think you're crazy if you think it's a good idea to get rid of a football coach who I think generally consensus, we all believe he puts together a top 5 product every single year. Whether you want to get into the semantics of whether or not Ryan Day is a top 5 football coach, I don't care to bother to do that. All I really care to bother to do is look up every single year and know Ohio State's in the national title contention preseason. And if that's the case, the coach got that team on the right track.
Yeah, I think Ryan Day is probably the best answer as far as coach who absolutely should not be fired, whose names sometimes get floated out there this season, like, hey, Ryan Day is a really bad season, he could get fired. I don't think Ryan Day deserves to be fired at all. Another name that I don't think should be fired, while this might be controversial, I don't think Deion Sanders should be fired from Colorado, even if they turn in another 4-8 season, because where your program is right now, it's earning more revenue than it ever has. It's more relevant than it ever has. Even if you're going 4-8, even if the results are about as consistent as they were with your other old coaches, there's no reason to get rid of Colorado or Deion Sanders at Colorado right now, simply because of what he's doing for your program from a national brand standpoint.
You want to break up with the girl before the girl breaks up with you?
I mean, if that's the reason why you're firing him, but then you look like the enemy at that point. Because then Deion
you're the victim if you leave.
Yeah, Deion Sanders is completely victim there.
And I think, too, while it would be maybe great to do it before Deion steps away from you, I just think that you should milk the Deion train as much as you can as Colorado, because it's almost going to feel like you're returning back to where you were before Deion. So while things still may be shaky and it really may not be much relevant product on the football field outside of a couple players, record-wise, it may not be any relevancy. I think that it still serves you as a program and as a university to have Deion Sanders attached to your program.
Chat's pushing back a little bit on the Ryan Day perennial contender preseason year in and year out, and said basically, didn't Rick have UGA preseason contender year in and year out and still get fired? Yeah, but 7-5. Go ahead.
Dang.
I get shit on every time I do this to Mark Richt because he is a great human being, but it's like people forget. It's like people forget that it happened every 4 or 5 years towards the end of his run there, where it's like, oh, there's an 8-4. Oh, there's a 7-5.
The problem with Mark Richt was it became clear that the title contenders were on another level from where his program was by the time. Like when Alabama beat you 38-10 in 2015, everyone kind of looked around and realized that we're not where we think we are as far as national title contending programs.
The moment Ryan Day follows a 6-7 season with an 8-5 season,
sure,
we can start doing this stuff. But until then, let's chill out because he lost to Michigan a couple times.
Yeah.
I think that I would honestly give Billy Napier immunity past this season. I think that it is worth
interesting.
Just because I think that you need to keep DJ Lagway. I think that is like you have to if you're Florida. I think you put yourself at a major risk of losing him if Billy Napier is fired. Not saying that would just like that's like a bona fide fact that it would happen if Billy Napier is fired, but I think that. Last year, I think he finished with the 10th overall class in the 2024 cycle. I think that maybe give him another year, give him a break on this year's schedule, understanding that you still have some moving pieces around your program and whatnot. I would give him through this year and then see it through next year and see what DJ Lagway is able to do for this program. Because, Graham Mertz is a good quarterback, but DJ Lagway is brought to this program because you were hoping that he is going to take it to another level because he is that type of athlete. So I would give him another year. Now, that's also with the stipulation of you can't turn in a 4-win season this year and expect to keep your job. But if you do win 6 games, if you do win 7 games, I would just kind of bite the towel a little bit, take it for another year until at least half of next season. And then at that point, you can be crucified.
All right, I got the gold standard here for immunity. Sharon Moore can go 0-12 and they're not firing him.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've already got him tied to the post, ready to just whip him in front of the town square.
Sharon Moore is going to be the coach of Michigan until the whatever sanctions come down.
Yeah.
And then they're immediately going to say...
He's got free reign.
Yeah, then they're
whatever.
They're immediately say, thank you for being the sacrificial lamb. We are now going to either suspend you or let you go or say, we've got to ride out this 2-year bowl ban, and then we're going to go out and hire the guy we really want and bring Michigan back to the way it was.
Counter. If Michigan goes 0-12, they will burn down the stadium and there will no longer be a football program.
Nah.
Dude, you go 0-12? Yeah, dude, that's absurd.
It's absurd.
It can't go 0-12.
Bro, they are letting Sharon Moore take the dive on all of this.
Yeah, but you go 0, there's no way. You go 0-12, no, but I would say almost nobody is keeping their job.
You go 0-12, fire your head coach, and you're under sanctions, no one's taking the job.
Okay. That's you know well, you're still in you're in the same spot you are as 0-12. That's 0-12 would be horrendous.
All right, they're not going 0-12.
I know,
but you see what I'm saying? Sharon Moore's not getting fired.
Yeah,
is the point. He's got an immunity pass.
He's not going to get
Who's
fired.
a coach that you would not necessarily thinks deserves one or thinks that should have one this year, but you'd like to see just be guaranteed one more year?
Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. And here's why. Until Vanderbilt can establish that even if they get good players that they can keep them, I don't expect that football coach to ever win. Not consistently. The moment Clark Lee develops, recruits, and finds a good player, he's on Georgia's roster, or he's on Colorado's roster, or he's somewhere else within the SEC. I don't think you can put demands of winning on a Vandy coach, period, 1. I don't think you can put demands on a winning coach at Vanderbilt, 2, because they can't retain their own roster. I don't think Clark Lee ever deserves to be fired. He wants to be there. He's an alumnus of the program. Just keep him there. Let him be your longest standing coach ever. You're never going to you shouldn't be aspiring for greatness at Vanderbilt anyways. You should be aspiring for continuity and a familiar face every year and some retention of fans. Maybe you can be the lovable loser.
Yeah.
I would give Sam Pittman a lifetime contract at Arkansas.
Really?
He's the perfect brand ambassador for that school. And it's not like an Ed Orgeron LSU situation where there's actual, you should be competing for national titles year in and year out, and going 8-4 is not acceptable. Like, Sam Pittman just has to kind of, like you said, you can kind of be the lovable loser at Arkansas where, hey, every now and again, Arkansas upsets a team and everyone loves it. And Sam Pittman's turning in really good pressers and things like that. I don't think that Sam Pittman should. I don't want to see Sam Pittman fired this year. Now, obviously, the schedule's tough.
They need to shoot old pit boss up with whatever they shoot the presidential candidates up to have all that juice. Sam with energy the first couple years at Arkansas in front of a microphone, in front of a camera. I think that's what made him so lovable.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been watching him in front of a camera lately?
I think it's because he knows.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They need to inject that juice back into him.
Get some life back in him.
Man, his image would be totally different within the fan base, I think.
I just think that Sam Pittman is just a perfect fit for Arkansas because he did take the program a step further. Now I know he went 4-8 last year, but outside of what Sam Pittman did for that program, the only other success that anybody connects to Arkansas is what Felix Jones and Darren McFadden brought to your university. That was a long time ago.
And that one ended with an even more nationally known scandal than it did success. Bobby Petrino and the neck brace,
exactly,
and the assistant.
So I just think that
motorcycle drive-by.
Yeah, bro.
I understand that you can't keep turning in 4-8 seasons, and the schedule that he has this year kind of feels like that's where this is going. So I get why you feel the need as a program and as a university that you got to move on at some point. But I just think for what Arkansas football is and has been in the past, Sam Pittman feels like it's as good as it might get at this point.
All right, I'm going to provide another immunity card with a caveat. You ready?
All right.
If Lenore Sellers is like, wow, good, the fear of losing him to the portal because you fired your head coach might be a little bit of a concern.
I like
Could
it.
Lenore Sellers save Shane Beamer's job?
I mean, he could. We could talk about this yesterday or on Monday, where if Lenore Sellers is exciting enough that people want to tune into South Carolina football, knowing that, hey, they might not win this game, but look at this quarterback, look what he's doing. I think, like I said, compared to Billy Napier in 2022 when you had Anthony Richardson, like no one really thought that Florida team was worth anything, but it was like, wow, we've got to see what this Anthony Richardson kid can do. So, yeah, it could absolutely save Billy Napier's job, I think.
Lenore Sellers could save Shane Beamer's job because if Lenore Sellers is playing well, that also means that his surrounding cast is playing well, or on paper it looks like they're playing really well. The receiver room looks like it's playing really well. Maybe Nick Harbor has a breakout season and people are falling in love with him or infatuated with him even more than they already are heading into this season. But then I think, and if you combine that with maybe some of your young stars like a Jalen Kilgore flashing again in year 2 as a sophomore in the secondary, I think those things could definitely keep Shane Beamer around for another season.
I think Shane Beamer's contract extension in January of 2023 kept him through the end of the season. He got a contract extension and a raise up to $4 million annually through 2027. If they fire him, they will have to pay him out 65% of the remaining contract. So I don't know what the bags look like up there in Columbia. I know there's several very, very old money rich folks up there, but I don't know how much they'd be looking into buying out. If they fired him this year, that would be 25, 26, and 27 is $12 million. 65% of that's $8.5 million. They might be able to swallow that. That's not that bad.
Yeah. I mean, again, South Carolina's just in a situation where if the Lenore, it does feel like this season is hinged on whether or not Lenore Sellers is what they're hoping he is. Like, if it flames out, then Beamer's time at South Carolina is going to flame out as well.
I think they certainly have to make drastic improvements. In terms of the hopefulness around the program, it can't feel doom and gloom at the end of this season, or else I think he might get cooked. Should we go to?
But before we do that,
you got any more?
Could it also damn him even more? Because say Lenore Sellers is everything that Spencer Rattler has been the last 2 years, and your team's even worse.
Yeah.
Like that could be just as bad of a look.
It could, and maybe they just cut ties and get the thing rolling anyways. I think we are entering a world of college football where if your quarterback's really, really good, your coach saved his job, especially if he's an underclassman. If Lenore Sellers was a draftable junior, all right, or a draftable redshirt sophomore, and he balled out this year at 6'3", 242 pounds, showed NFL traits, and was draftable this year, we have a different discussion. But if he's got an opportunity to return, I don't know if you open up literally a free market for what would be a Power 5 starter. He's going somewhere else for $2 million. It's happening. So, a 5-7 season with Lenore Sellers looking like the future might keep his job.
How much do you think that the scheduling format of the SEC hurts coaches' chances of getting another year? Like Billy Napier, for example, you're getting the same schedule next year. Ain't nothing changing about it except the location of the games. So if it was this bad this year, What makes us think
That's a
that
good
maybe
point.
it'll be any different next year? Same thing for every single SEC program. All it's flipping is the location of these games. You're getting the same
Solid
opponents.
point.
Yeah, I mean, you're also it's going to come to a head at South Carolina where do we blow this up and throw away any future potential we have with our roster in trade for we're tired of going 5-7, or do we keep going perhaps 5-7, maybe 7-5 with this promising new quarterback we have? And that's the question they're ultimately going to answer. And I think we all can say that it's probably going to result in Shane Beamer getting the X.
All right, playoff newcomers, what if Wednesday or the SEC tiebreaker?
Playoff newcomers.
All right, playoff newcomers it is.
Holy shit,
Let's
he actually
do it.
let us pick.
Let's do it. All right, I think this is pretty simple. I did this based off my bracket that we did a couple weeks ago.
Ditto.
So I have my bracket here in front of me. If my bracket holds true, this year the first timers in the college football playoff will be, drumroll please, Penn State. Congratulations to the Nittany Lions. Florida State. Boise State. We're just rolling.
Florida State would be a
was in
repeat.
20.
I almost did the same thing.
Oh, damn.
Remember Jameis throwing the ball behind him in the.
Well, then here we go. Penn State, Boise State, Ole Miss, and Utah would be the first comers. How about that?
I like it. Not as many teams as I thought.
No.
Which
when we did
newcomer
this.
do you have the most faith in?
Certainly not Penn State, Boise State, or Utah, so it's got to be Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Wow. And
And I don't feel great about that.
I'm telling
I don't
you.
feel great about any of these newcomers.
Look, I'm telling you, the Penn State making the final or the Elite Eight is a crazy take. They won a game away from being there.
If Penn State doesn't make a playoff this year, fire his ass.
Yeah, he's in trouble if they don't do that.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Hashtag fire Franklin.
My newcomers, according to my playoff bracket, were Penn State, Kansas State, Ole Miss, Kansas, and Boise State.
I forgot you got two Kansas teams making the playoff.
I
did too. I just had to throw Kansas State.
People giving me shit about Penn State making the playoff this year. Look at their schedule. They got a one-game schedule. They got to play Ohio State, and then the rest of it they'll be favored by at least a touchdown.
Yeah.
It is the easiest Power 4 schedule in the freaking country.
They can 21-10 their way all the way to a college football
They
playoff.
very
They can
well
17-9 their way to a college football playoff.
They absolutely should. My new teams would be Liberty, group of 5.
Nice.
Liberty, Kansas State, Missouri, Penn State, and Kansas. And I threw on my regular show notes list, I think Tennessee could be one of these teams.
Yeah, I got some maybes
Yeah,
in
for
Missouri
sure.
and Tennessee is only maybes I put down.
Yeah, I think Tennessee very well could make their first playoff this year. I mean, they've been hovering around the top 15 since Josh Heupel got there. So, and then with Nico, if he's everything that the world wants you to believe he is, they should be a playoff team this year.
Tennessee is in a very similar situation to where their schedule and their playoff chances boil down to 3 games, kind of like Georgia, where you make the trip out to Oklahoma, you have a home game against Alabama, then you got to go to Athens. Those 3 games are going to dictate really what happens to you and where you're going to be in the playoff mix. If you go 2-1, you're going to be in a really good spot to make the playoff. But if you go one of two, or even if you lose all 3 of them, then your chances dwindle drastically.
Might be the shortest segment we've ever had on this show. Do we have any other talking points out of this? Other than these are the teams that might make the newcomers?
We don't believe in any of these teams being national title contenders.
No, we do not.
Yeah, I mean, again,
It's the return visitors.
Well, we were talking about it maybe 2 weeks ago, to where if you kind of look at the history of the playoff, it's still going to boil down to the top 5. What was the top 5 stat? If you were not inside top six,
Yeah.
if you're inside of the top 6, that's who won the national title
on the preseason AP top 25.
So it just kind of shows it really does still just boil down to a handful of teams, and you're still picking from really just your top 6 teams, because that's what the Final Four came down to. It was your first 2 out, and then it was your top 4 teams, and those were the only teams that anybody ever felt like had a chance at winning a national title. Even in December when you were picking those teams, it was just, we have an argument for 2 other teams, but with the 4 teams that made it, those are really the only teams that we felt like have a chance at winning this.
Yeah, the idea of we've got more seats at the table now and there's more opportunities. There hasn't really been that opportunity. Last year was the first year that we had a first-year team make the playoff and almost compete for a national title, and that was Texas. Washington made it in 2016, I believe. So it's like the teams that are competing for national titles had playoff opportunities before. It's very interesting. I think Georgia was the only team, and they did it, granted, 3 years in the playoff, other than obviously the first early years where a team had made the playoff and made it to the national title in their first try.
Do we see a potential for a Washington this year where someone just comes out of nowhere and is a freaking wagon? I know you guys think Kansas or maybe Kansas State might have this opportunity, but I mean, like an actual chance to win a title?
The problem I have with that, and it would be like the Kansas idea of that, but the problem I have with it is because we discounted the entire Pac-12 as a conference last year coming into it, which is what made Washington so surprising, which is what made the whole Oregon thing like, oh damn, the Pac-12 was kind of legit this year. I don't think there's really a conference out. We all look at the Big 12 this way kind of, and maybe the ACC.
I think the Big 12 and the ACC, people certainly view that way.
But you can fathom a Florida State making it.
Yeah.
Like we don't think it's going to happen.
Making a national title though? Like if
I can fathom it.
I guess Pete Thamel apparently knows ball. People claim that Pete Thamel knows ball. Florida State fans think Pete Thamel knows ball because Pete Thamel came out here and said they got the best defensive line in the country. Now, I don't know how you can just assume that Marvin Jones is going to be great other than high school recruiting rankings.
Hey, he went to Georgia.
But even the tape at Georgia, like, love Marvin Jones as an athlete. It wasn't like, wow, during his time at Georgia. So Pete Thamel dropping takes.
Would you view Miami that way? Like if Miami does, like if the Miami hype is real, would you view them that way of like a Washington type?
Out of nowhere. Wait, so Washington was preseason 10 last year. I don't remember that. Is that true? Can you give me the 2023 preseason AP poll?
Yeah, I can.
They might have been, but again, like it goes back to we all discounted the Pac-12. Like we looked at that and said, okay, cool, they can beat 10. They're going to lose 2 regular season games like every Pac-12 team does. I vehemently was certain they would blow it at some point. I said that through the entire 2023 regular season, like just wait, Washington will do it. And they never did, to their credit.
They were 10.
Yeah.
Shout out to the chat. Vehemently, a word that made my vowels.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd you sneak that one in there?
I vow to vehemently pursue you for the rest of our life.
Sick.
Yeah, my vows were crisp. Totally cooked my wife. Just gonna let her know.
Were they on par with your poem?
Yeah. I gotta say my vows were better than my poem.
How many people do you think are using ChatGPT to write their vows?
Oh, tons.
Did you just out him?
They out what?
Well, he was.
Out what?
ChatGPT wasn't around when he was getting married.
Yeah.
I think you just outed him, man. That's crazy.
So it's a poet, and he did know it.
Ghostwriter.
Who all do we have full belief has an actual chance at a title? I'm going to give it to Oregon, Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas.
That's about it.
Those are the teams that I don't even feel after watching film, I don't feel like 100% positive Texas is just going to repeat what they did last year.
Nope. Especially with your injuries at that running back
position. I think that this is what the 12-team playoff is making a lot of people fall victim to, is that just because we open the door to more teams means that there's a lot more teams that are national title teams. Just because we're putting more teams into the mix, that doesn't make your roster on paper make us assume that you are a national title winning team. I think it's making people ignore a lot of glaring holes on people's on different programs' rosters and not really remembering what it took to win in the 4 team. Because what it took to win in the 4 team still very much applies to what it's going to take in the 12-team playoff as well.
What if?
What if Wednesday?
Hey, it is Wednesday around these parts.
Is this our only recurring segment?
I think so.
No, we got Guess the Lines.
Guess the Lines.
Yeah, Guess the Lines. Next Monday, we'll have Kirby's early lock of the week.
I'm making it a requirement that we bring back unless it doesn't happen.
Okay.
I like that.
Maybe we'll do that on Tuesdays.
That was one of my favorite segments.
And Thursdays, we'll have a better pick. So we'll start some reoccurring themes and reoccurring segments on the show. I love reoccurring segments on the show because they make show notes real easy.
Yeah, just type.
Make real neat.
You got some auto slide-ins.
All right, what if Wednesday? Boys, I present to you this here proposition. What if the non-Power 5 team is like just a shitty 10-2? And here's what I'm saying. I think bottom line, I think we have 1 year where we give this auto bid to the non-Power 4, and it pisses everyone off so much that we just remove it entirely from the stipulations, and we make some new rule where it's like the Cincy 2020 rule. If you're undefeated and undeniable 2 years in a row, we'll finally let you into the party. But other than that, y'all can piss off. Because I'm going to tell you what, it would make me real hot if I was Missouri this year and I lose, I don't know, on the road to Alabama, and then I lose, I don't know, at home to Oklahoma, and I get sent home packing, all right, as the 12 seed, or what would have been the 12th ranked team in the country, for a 10-2 Liberty team that lost to App State and Jack State. Those two are not fair at all. And the whole idea that we're putting the non-Power 4 team in is in that search of that right there, fairness. I want to give the Cinderella team the opportunity. Well, I'm here to tell you, if the Cinderella team don't earn the opportunity, they're not going to be just gifted it, because the SEC team or the Big Ten team that survived their real schedule with 2 losses deserves to be in there.
Yeah, this was a result of, I think...
By the way, Captain Easy stance.
Yeah, I mean, but this was a result of the 2017 thing with UCF obviously happening, and then Cincinnati getting left out in 2020, and people were banging their fist on the desk of, we need justice for these Group of 5 teams that are doing everything they can and handling all their business, that deserve a spot at the table, only to find that they probably don't, because they're not on the same caliber. I think you are right. I think you're going to see a top 12 team get shafted out of a playoff spot this year. The Group of 5 team then go and just get their brains bashed in, and everyone's going to go, well, this isn't fair to the other teams. We're trading fairness for Group of 5 teams for where a 12th team should be in here. So you're absolutely right. That's going to happen.
So you're saying that basically give the G5 programs one shot this year. Like, this is your only shot.
This is it. Don't blow it.
Yeah.
You got to.
And honestly, even if Liberty or Boise State or App State, whoever it is, even if they're 12-0, they get beat by 50 in that game.
Oh, yeah.
We're done. I'm not even going to listen to it anymore.
I'm going to tell you it's not even going to matter, because there's already talks of it going to 16. It's going to stay. Once you go to 16, then it'll still just be one team. It'll be an auto bid. You'll add more Power 4 teams. Damn. They're going to keep it around.
Yeah, give me the 5th seed with Liberty coming into town.
And all it is,
that ass up at home.
The SEC team that just lost the championship is pissed.
Oh, they're guaranteed 5, by the way. The loser of the SEC championship, I'm telling you right now, in August 21st, the loser of the SEC championship game will be ranked 5th. No questions.
Then you get to send a Group of 5 team into your home.
Come on.
Bad things will happen.
App State down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and take this 40-point dub.
Bad things will happen, yeah. You want to go now?
Yeah. And guess what? You ain't even going to get paid for it. We're not even going to give you the $2 million that we normally give you to come out here and get your ass beat.
What if Drew Aller turns into a first-round product? How much of a threat? Look, this is what-if scenarios, all right?
Really out there.
It's what if, not if hell freezes over.
Wrap my head around
gracious.
Drew Aller, talented.
This is the real question, though. How much does that change your perspective? Like, how much of a threat does that make Penn State now? Like, if Drew Aller is that good, does that make you say, like, oh, yeah, they can make a title game now?
Did you? Yeah, probably. Did you see?
Thanks for answering my what if with the probably.
Did you see the Penn State beat reporter, the young student reporter, that tweeted a video of Drew Aller rolling left and throwing like a 12-yard comeback?
Yes.
And tweeted, there are like 3 people on earth who can make this throw. Yes. First of all, ball wobbled on him. Mm-hmm. Second of all, I must be one of those 3 people on earth, because it didn't look that impressive. I mean, Jesus.
Look, I'll say this. If they get a song written about Drew Aller, like Trace McSorley.
Well, this is what I was about to say, is like, if you watched Trace McSorley and Sean Clifford play football for 8 years, you would think that Drew Aller is walking on water too.
You're right. If I went from Sean Clifford to Drew Aller, I'd probably think he was God's gift to quarterback play too.
Throw it on.
Any more?
Yeah.
So anything other than a probably off of the what if?
To be honest, I can't even remember your what if. I think you said something about
if
Drew Aller.
If Drew Aller turns into a first round product, does that make him a national title contender?
Fuck, if pigs fly tomorrow, I guess.
Is that the only missing piece, in your opinion, for Penn State?
No, they need weapons.
Okay.
They need weapons.
Thank you. Okay.
They need a lot of weapons that aren't 2 running backs that everyone crowds the box against.
So all it would make them is a UNC with a defense.
Kinda. Not even that, because Drake May could actually create. Drake May, when he didn't have weapons, was still really
first round quarterback, team offensive weapons.
First round quarterback 7-5.
Yeah,
they ain't gonna be 7-5.
They ain't gonna be 7-5, but
yeah,
I think it could happen, J-Wo.
I just think that offense is gonna be so goddamn constipated. There's no way a first rounder's coming out of the quarterback position.
What if FSU covers on Saturday, but DJU looks horrible?
Like I'd say you just predicted what's going to happen.
I think I saw a stat today where Georgia Tech, since whatever,
it's moving.
Georgia Tech is 12-2 against the spread as an underdog.
I was going to say the line's moving. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, it's coming down.
Line moved a full point today.
It's coming down
on sharp money.
Oh, you and I were talking about this morning. I think
Sharps are getting in on it.
Sharps are getting in heavy.
Which is why I mean it's not going to be a play this week just for us because it's already coming. But we'll keep an eye on that next week.
I like this one. What if Florida is scrappy, but they still take a bunch of L's? All right, check this out. I think they got 7 losses on the schedule that you can already forecast and feel good about forecasting as losses. They might win 1 or 2 of these, but I think they're going to lose all 7 of these. All right. I got 1-score losses in this mythical situation. 1-score losses to Miami, Texas A&M, at Tennessee, LSU at home, and 2-score losses or more to Georgia, Ole Miss, and Texas. If that is the case, Florida goes 5-7, boys. But 4 of the 7 losses are 1-score losses. They battle, make it competitive, but take the L. And the other 3 losses are double digits to top 5 football teams. Are you firing Billy Napier?
No, but one of those 5 wins has to be a win that was like, oh, where'd this come from? This is a surprise. I think if you handle all the
shit, I forgot Florida State on the schedule.
Yeah, like if they beat Florida State.
And that's what I was about to get at is if you have a late impressive win.
Yeah.
Like that, I think that's the biggest thing is for coaches that are kind of hovering over the hot seat. If you're not already canned midway through, you gotta show something down the stretch late. And it's what Shane Beamer did with South Carolina in 2022. Getting that win over Tennessee was like, oh my gosh, look what Shane Beamer done cooked up at South Carolina. This is it. This is the one that we found. If Billy Napier can do that for Florida, I think he's fine.
I don't think we correctly remember how much of a heater Billy Napier was on coming off that 2022 season.
Billy Napier?
Or not Billy Napier.
Shane Beamer. Yeah. We got another year of Spencer Rattler.
SEC East predicted champs heater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
By, I think, 14 journalists.
I mean, we had media members out here saying they play for him. But no, I think that if Billy Napier turns in a season like that, like you said, where they showed that they were scrappy but they still lost, you have to have at least 1 or 2 examples of where you show, hey, we can win. We're close. It can't be that we almost figured it out, but we still can't figure out how to win. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's going to be the most important part. Because then what's going to happen is they're going to do the whole Billy Napier thing where, they only lost this many games by this many points. And everyone's going to point to 2021 or 2022 Nebraska. Whereas Nebraska did the same thing, and look what they did next season. So you have to have some semblance of hope to where you actually show you can win the game.
Correct. Show some scrappiness, that's all. Anybody got any other what ifs? I got a couple more.
You got it.
What if every SEC team we advertised as preseason would lived up to the hype, and we have 7 true playoff caliber teams in the conference?
It just means more, baby.
7 playoff caliber teams?
Yeah, I mean, if Georgia, Missouri,
there is
Bama,
no limit, right? Just straight up top 11. No thresholds on only a certain amount of SEC teams or only a certain amount of Big Ten teams.
No. Obviously, you'll have the 5 requirements or 4 requirements.
The championship.
Yeah,
the champion winners, all 4 guaranteed,
and then your group of 5.
So there's 5 spots. But what I'm saying is, are they limiting the amount of teams you can totally get in?
I don't think there are.
They aren't, but they are. That's what I would say.
I have 7 is the most possible.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, like Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss, Texas, Bama, Georgia, Missouri. You could convince me that every single one of those teams could be a playoff team. What happens if they are?
Oh, Big Ten country's pissed. Big Ten country's certainly pissed. Big 12 country's like, yeah, okay.
We saw this.
The ACC's like, hey, let's go lose another lawsuit.
That's what I was saying. Lawsuit?
Let's
Catch
go get our ass beat in court since they're not going to beat us on the football field. That kind of deal, maybe?
Yeah. I don't know. I still just think that there's just no way they would ever do it. I think that there's a cap at like 4. That's got to be the maximum, in my opinion. Unless it's just like undeniable. There's no other way around it. We got to put 5 teams in from a conference. It's just hard for me to believe it.
I mean, 247 laid out how like 9 teams would go 10-2.
I thought it was all 14 and there's 16 in the conference.
What if Nico is just good but not great?
Then I think everyone does the reasonable thing and pushes Tennessee till next year. Like the people that are buying in on Tennessee right now, I think are doing it a little too early. Like we've all said that, yeah, Tennessee's going to be great. Next year is where you buy the Tennessee stock because Nico isn't going to be in his first season. So if Nico's good but he's not great, it goes right along with what we've been saying.
I think Tennessee fans blame it on weapons.
But you lose a lot of your weapons too.
I know. But most of them are transfers.
Yeah,
They'll get more.
Those are guys that just got there. Next year it's going to be like, hey, you wait and watch. Mike Matthews finna be that guy. We just had to get Mike Matthews on the field. That's all.
Okay.
So, yeah. All right. I got one right here. What if Dylan Raiola is a freshman All-American? And I'm not even going to do what if. I think I'm predicting Dylan Raiola freshman All-American. Was announced the starting quarterback today because water is indeed wet. Told you last night 3 rules to identify a starting quarterback. 1, follow the money. Box check. 2, follow the hype. Box check. 3, follow the reps. Box check. There was no way in hell any other quarterback was going to be named the starting quarterback at Nebraska other than Dylan Raiola. So let's talk about it. Did you know Nebraska had 5 one-score losses a year ago?
Sounds like Nebraska football.
Sounds like a Nebraska football team.
Sound like Nebraska football. But here's the real deal. Nebraska was 133rd in the country in turnovers per game last year. Dead effing last. All right. And it wasn't because quarterback or running backs were putting the ball on the turf. It wasn't because they were turning the ball over on downs. It was solely because quarterbacks could not stop giving it to the opponent. Last year, Nebraska quarterbacks accounted for 16 interceptions. That's a lot. That is a lot. But here's the crazy part. Nebraska quarterbacks fumbled the football 15 times last year.
Ooh.
15 fumbles, 16 picks. 31 total turnovers due to one effing position. I don't care how bad a freshman looks. He ain't going to look that bad. He's not going to look incompetent. And here's the deal. I don't love the weapons, but honestly, I don't love the idea that he's going to be great freshman year. I think there's going to be some growing pains. However, I love the schedule for Nebraska. You're my Vegas man. All right. You pay attention to lines. You whip my ass and guess the lines every single week. UTEP, Nebraska favored?
Oh, yeah.
Northern Iowa, Nebraska favored?
Should be.
How about Illinois?
Yep.
Purdue?
Yep.
Rutgers?
Yep.
Indiana?
Yes.
UCLA?
Probably.
How about Wisconsin?
Maybe. It's
End of the year?
Towards the end of the year, it's going to be a question.
How about at Iowa?
Right now, I'd say Iowa's favorite, but at the end of the year, you have no
So
idea.
you push me back on 2. So you're automatically favoring 7 wins for Nebraska this year. You're going to match last year's total plus 2 on the wins-loss column, and you got 2 toss-ups there. I think there's a reasonable expectation that Nebraska might be 9-3 with a freshman starting quarterback.
I don't think that's unreasonable at all. I do. The one thing that statistic of turnovers is so wildly skewed that makes you question how bad was that O-line.
It was Jeff Sims was responsible for like 4 turnovers in one game, I believe.
Yes.
He had like 2 turnovers and 2 interceptions, and he was benched the next week.
I didn't grind a ton of Nebraska film, but I would have to imagine that the quarterbacks were probably under a good amount of distress if you're making decisions that bad. Or their quarterback room was just terrible, and you're right. Dylan Raiola is going to absolutely excel that team to a spot where they do go 9-3.
They returned 4 or 5 starters and brought a transfer in at center. That tells you about the offensive line.
Okay.
It wasn't bad enough for Matt Rule to go out and make drastic changes of.
So,
and you talked about Jeff Sims getting replaced. The backup that came in last year had 11 fumbles. 11.
Must have been eating popcorn before the game.
Horrible football play at the quarterback position. What?
Must have been eating popcorn before the game.
Yeah, shouldn't have ate that popcorn. Can of corn and
Classic.
Diet Coke. Be all right. SEC tiebreaker? Or do y'all have any more what ifs?
I've got one more what if.
Okay.
All right.
What if Brian Kelly just kind of leans into this schoolyard bully persona and just becomes that, like, that's what he's known for now?
Who?
Brian Kelly.
Oh. You think he's a bully?
Well, you saw what he did today with Lane Kiffin and the media presser. Like,
Yeah.
what if that kind of becomes his niche? Because it felt like before, like, Brian Kelly was always a standoffish guy at Notre Dame, was very, this is how it's going to be. Kind of tried to seem buttoned up and professional, and it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. What if he comes out here and he's the loose guy, and he's picking on people like, what's up? Lane
He's the everyman.
Yeah.
Find it hard to be considered an everyman when you wear a 3 button-up polo on a jet ski and some khakis.
Hey, it might just be part of the lore.
Yelling, "Go Tigers." And you tweet it every time you get a commitment. You know this is what he does, right?
Yeah.
There's a video of Brian Kelly approaching a dock on a jet ski in an LSU coach's polo and some khakis and says, "Go Tigers." And then he turns his jet ski around and rides off into the sunset. Family.
I'm looking it up.
I at least appreciate that he's trying.
Yeah.
He's trying to win over the common fan. Of, you know what, Brian Kelly's kind of funny. And if you don't know what we're talking about, Lane Kiffin came to the podium yesterday and looked at the Coca-Cola bottle and was like, "Does anybody drink Coke? This stuff is terrible for you." There's, I think he said 130% of your daily sugar totals in one bottle of Coke. And Brian Kelly followed it up today with, "Hey man, that Coke looks pretty good. If you don't like Coke, you know, I got Smart Water here. Smart Water, also a Coke product, really refreshing, nice and crisp." And then he took a swig of it and was like, "That's good stuff. Shout out to Coke." So yeah, prodding Lane just a little bit there.
Prodding Lane and showing more personality than he ever did.
And speaking of taking out drinks right now, I want to do this. I want to jump on this. I've done this before. Powerade Zero. If you're drinking regular Gatorade or regular Powerade right now, you're an imbecile. You're just an imbecile. Okay? And here's why. The standard American diet is loaded with processed sugar already. And most of you jokers that go into a gas station, you come out with one of these 32-ounce Gatorades or Powerades, and you ain't drinking the zeros, which means you are leaving the gas station with 60 grams of processed sugar and you're mainlining it into your system. You are snorting 60 grams of processed sugar right there in one spot. And then you're probably going to have a Snickers. You're probably going to have a Reese's. And you're going to be out of this world on your sugar. And you're going to be pre-diabetic, and fat folk don't get old. Stop drinking regular Gatorade and regular Powerade. Drink the zeros. If you're someone who, unlike my bland man over here, Kirby, I'm just a water drinker. Guess what? I'm not just a water drinker. All right? I like drinking stuff that tastes good because I'm not Dr. Bland Man. And if you're with me and you're not Dr. Bland Man who drinks water out of a power or a protein shaker bottle, all right, then get you some zeros. That's all. That's all you got to do.
That might be the best Powerade Zero commercial we've ever seen. And you did it completely for free. If
I catch a loved one drinking regular Gatorade, regular Powerade, on spot, flammatory, right there, flaming that ass, right there on spot. You just want to die. No, I'm just kidding.
You should lean into that bit a little bit.
What?
Just yelling at people for their diet and drink food choices.
I got to lose like another 30 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
And then we're there. Then I can, hey, I was once fat like you. You know, I can do that too. Real demeaning like too.
Yeah,
hey,
condescending.
You struggling with it? I was there too at one point. All you got to do is try and care about yourself.
Yeah, you just have to love yourself. You just have to
care about yourself. That's it. We still have a whole nother hour. That's so awesome. Shout out to Brian Kelly. Should we talk about this SEC tiebreaker?
Yeah, I saw a lot of people freaking out about this, like how many stipulations, like a coin toss. Yeah. I think people misread.
People just rooting for chaos.
Yeah.
Because it's never going to happen.
No, those stipulations are... If seven, like, what are the odds that you get down to that?
Yeah, it's very clear a pecking order. Like, this is what we go to first. If that doesn't work, here's where we go to next. And if the first 6 options don't work out, then yeah, we're going to high school football it and flip a coin.
Shout out Friday Night Lights.
Indeed. So,
can you read me
there's a couple of them that are a little confusing really make sense to me. Yeah, like it's a lot of words.
Also, I want to say this up front and foremost. Anyone listening tonight, I have $100 ready to be Venmo'd to you. If you can find me the case in SEC football history where the coin toss actually gets implemented in this new plan, if you can bring me that, $100 right to you.
All right, here they are in order. Head-to-head among the tied teams, record versus common conference opponents, record against the highest team in the standings that both teams have played and failing that proceeding downward through their other common opponents, cumulative conference winning percentage of all conference opponents for each tie team, essentially schedule strength. The next one is capped relative scoring margin versus all conference opponents. That's a metric that is derived from comparing the team's points scored and allowed to the opponent's average points scored and allowed per an appendix and the tie-breaking rules. And then the very last one, random draw of the tied teams.
The only way you get a coin toss, I think, is if you have, say, a Georgia and a two teams that don't play, and they have the exact same records with the exact same results against common opponents.
Yeah, the numbers alone take out the coin flip or the random draw. Like the odds of those numbers being identical for both teams, I don't even know the odds on that, but I know it's very, very, very small.
You have a better chance of winning the lottery.
It's 0. That's why I'm offering $100 to anybody who can find it. It's never happened. I can guarantee it. I don't even have to go look. I can guarantee it's never happened where a coin flip would have to be implemented. And chat's asking for some clarification. Yes, if you can find me the historical example of the SEC championship under this new model having to be decided by a coin flip, you get $100. We good?
You're going to be searching for a long time, that's for sure.
You absolutely are. We had a JIC topic. Ohio State's defense or Georgia's defense on paper. Who are you taking this year and why?
Is it just on paper, just looking at the roster, or are we saying...
Let's go all things on paper included. So that's schedule, that's roster, that's just
staff.
Going into the season with nothing else other than the roster and what they're going to have to face. Which team are you taking on paper?
Are we including staff with that?
Yes. That's on paper.
Then give me Georgia.
You're taking Georgia.
Georgia. Kirby Smart has a years and years worth of proof of concept that he is one of the best defensive minds in college football. He's time and time again shown that he has recruited enough talent to make it, even if Ohio State has a more talented roster. Kirby Smart has shown you enough that Georgia's football's defense is always going to be in the top 3, if not the top 5 in the country. Ryan Day necessarily hasn't shown that as much for me. They've had very good defenses, don't get me wrong, and they're going to have a very good defense this year. But if you had to make me choose, I would choose Kirby Smart.
They almost feel identical when you kind of draw it up in some ways. Like Caleb Downs, Malachi Starks, star safety on that end. You have a lot of returning players on your front 7 or even front 4 if you just want to go there. NFL football players that are returning this year. Like JT Tuimoloau, he's returning for Ohio State. You have Michael Williams coming back for Georgia. Not necessarily coming back, but he's in for another season. Like kind of on paper, if you measure it up, it does kind of feel the same. I think Georgia's secondary all around kind of gives them an edge in this aspect. I think that Ohio State might have the better defensive line in totality. I would give them the edge there, but I think between Georgia's secondary as a whole and then Georgia's coaching staff, which is what Kirby's kind of getting at, I would give Georgia the edge.
Now, I do think Ohio State has an easier schedule than Georgia's, which makes this conversation a little interesting because playing at Texas, playing at Bama, playing at Ole Miss, those are going to be 3 top 10 teams, which you'd have to presume.
Top 10 offenses.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have to presume top 10 offenses to go with it. So that's a challenge.
Yeah, I'm going to steer away from this. I'm going to take Ohio State on paper. I do like their defensive coordinator. I like that he runs a split safety model. They're very diverse in the amount of stuff that they do. But also, the schedule you're talking about, I mean, they're going to be statistically the number 1 defense in America, I think, based off the amount of points per game allowed. But if you just go like man for man, and just do it on a basic level of first-round draft pick versus first-round draft pick, I think Caleb and Malachi cross each other out. I think guys like JT Tuimoloau and Michael cross each other out, despite the fact I think Michael's going to be drafted probably 15 spots ahead of that. But you're right. From just a man-to-man talent standpoint, they're relatively close to one another on paper.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you want to go coach's advantage and take Georgia in that discussion, I'm fine with that. If you want to say schedule and output and take Ohio State in that discussion, I'm fine with that. Any other football team in America right now, even in this discussion?
On a defensive standpoint, no.
I don't think there's any other defenses that are
maybe Michigan?
Maybe.
They're the only other team I would put in this.
Just because of the star power?
Star power.
They've got 3 first-rounders on that defense.
3 first-rounders, and, I mean, it's hard to find another defense that has this few of holes, if any, almost, going into a season. There's a difference between having questions about what's the output going to be and questions of, hey,
who are the guys
secondary was bad last year and you didn't bring anybody else. What's it going to look like this year? Yeah. That's a question. That's so.
The chat hit it on the head. Part of me hopes that those 2 are the last 2 standing because I think they provide us with the best national championship game.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Come January 20th.
Or at least they face off in the playoff.
Yeah, give me a game where those 2 head up against each other. I think that will be the best college football game that is provided this season.
Yeah.
From a NFL talent standpoint, just quality of football standpoint, I think that would be excellent to watch. Speaking of excellent to watch, we got a whole other hour coming up, right? Meow.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
We are back.
Oh, hello.
Hey, go sit down.
Yeah, go sit down, you dumb idiot. We got a whole other hour of show. Sorry, we're doing a little show work here, and I'm tied up with my lab here. We're going to have to figure that out. Welcome back. We have an whole other hour. It is our local hour. We're going to talk about how Barrett Carter provided some bulletin board material, as did an offensive lineman from Clemson's roster. D'Amico Ryans gave a big old shout out to the University of Georgia during his Houston Texans press conference yesterday. If you could guarantee one win for the University of Georgia this season, which one would it be? I'm going to tell you why right now. Kirby Smart would have an absolute hissy fit. One you've never seen the likes of if something that happened at another SEC program happened to his program today. Dom Lovett absolutely wins PR 101 Trophy of the Year. Haven't seen a press conference from a player with as much media talk as that guy gave us today. We'll talk a little bit about that. But first and foremost, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Better. Better now offers college football props. Enter more than or less than the key stats on college football players. You can now play in 23 states, including the fine state of Georgia. And Better is matching first-time deposits up to $250 if you use promo code Brooks or click the link in the description today. Shout out to those guys over there at Better. They do some great stuff for us, and we appreciate all the support that we can potentially get here on this network. We are self-funded. We don't do a lot of ads. We selectively choose those, and we are glad to be associated with those folks over there at Better today. If you're a prop player, head over to Better for real. Use promo code Brooks and get that today. Barrett Carter was doing some talking today, Curb?
He sure was, and it's kind of bulletin board material for Georgia fans, and it's also one of those examples of you'd be like, Clemson fans say always getting misunderstood. So, as you know in practice, a lot of times when you're playing in neutral site or away games, teams will pump in crowd noise, kind of get you ready for that environment, understand to be in. Well, apparently at Clemson, they were pumping in Georgia's fight song just continuously. And Barrett Carter, on record, said that, it was annoying him. It pissed him off. Obviously, understandably so. But he offered a couple of quotes. He said, it was during our special teams, so I don't know why they did it. But yeah, it was during our special teams period. It was kind of pissing me off. But I was just locked in, ready for practice. But no, it was very annoying. So they're getting to him a little bit with the fight song. But
Did anybody hum the Georgia fight song?
Of course.
Come on. Oh, that one. Gotcha.
That one?
I'm just kidding.
I was about to say,
how many years have you been covering the team now?
Who is Barrett Carter's even more blasphemous than what's the fight song? Who is Barrett Carter is probably like the top 5 linebacker in college football.
Oh, yeah.
Top
for
5?
sure. He'll be one of the first 5 off the board this year.
Yeah, he's really, really good player from North Gwinnett High School and was a football player that Georgia heavily sought after in high school.
But he went on, so he kind of gave you that bulletin board, calling the fight song annoying, getting fans a reason to get fired up, and then was kind of asked about, are you as a team fired up for this game? And his response was also interesting that he said, it's been pretty chill from both sides. I know a lot of guys on the team, but it's been pretty chill. Not really much banter, not much trash talk. We're both just trying to handle business our end, and the best man will come out on the 31st. So, I mean, the kind of, the intermixing, obviously, that Clemson kind of recruits Georgia a lot, so you'd have to imagine there's a lot of overlap between these two rosters, knowing each other and things.
Georgia and Clemson recruit against each other a lot.
They recruit the same state, at least. I don't know if anymore. Kirby Smart did say we don't really see them much anymore.
Kirby gave his quote. That's right. Kirby gave his quote this week about how Georgia and Clemson don't really see each other on the recruiting trail anymore. And it kind of got my brain a little rumbling. I honestly thought it was a little bit of a shot at the quality of player that Clemson addresses and I should say approaches on the recruiting trail. And that's maybe why they don't see each other anymore on the recruiting trail. But I thought it would be fun to go through Clemson's roster and just see how many of these football players Georgia's actually gotten involved with and how many of these football players that are starting for Clemson weren't really Georgia football player quality, weren't really takes at the University of Georgia. So without further ado, let's head to the board. unmuted my microphone like I was supposed to today.
Good job.
This should be good stuff here. We get a lot of shirt love in the chat today. Folks asking where this one was brought. This is a Walmart special. People giving your Mac Miller shirt some love in the chat as well. And how about the merchandise from the boy J Will over there? Shut up and grind some Tizape. I love that right there. All right, here we go. We're going to do offense first, then head over to the defensive side of the football. And I think you're going to see some themes here, some consistencies with the idea that Clemson clearly doesn't recruit this area of the country on the offensive side of the football, but good Lord, did they do it on the defensive side of the football. So here's the example, or here's the experiment rather. We are going through this roster looking for A, players that are from the state of Georgia, B, players that Georgia actually recruited and considered a recruiting battle between Clemson and Georgia. Here we go. Offensive side of the football first. I'm going to tell you right now, Phil Maffa is from the state of Georgia. However, Georgia not interested in Phil Maffa coming out of Grayson High School. That was going elsewhere. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put a check if the guy's from Georgia and an X if Georgia were actually entertained. I don't think you guys can actually see that very well, so this might be an auditorial segment. Maybe we switch colors here. Maybe we go pink. Is that a little clearer for you?
It's a little better.
So there we go. We got Phil Maffa was a state of Georgia football player that Georgia didn't really recruit. The same could be said here for David Iziomume, the running back out of North Cobb High School. Did not hold a Georgia offer, if my memory serves me correct, coming out of that high school out there in North Cobb. That's the only players, if my memory serves me correctly, other than, was it Elijah Thurman? He was from the state of Georgia. Georgia did not recruit or show any general interest in my man Elijah Thurman. What was that city he was from?
Was he the one at Stockbridge?
No, Stockbridge is our man down there on defense that plays safety. All right, so those are the
Hinesville.
players.
Hinesville,
Georgia. There you go. All right, so those are the players from the state of Georgia that Georgia didn't really necessarily recruit. Now,
our lad's tripping.
I'd say so. Our lad's definitely tripping. All right, let's roll back up. Let's try to get this actually where we were. That's defense. We were right there. All right, here we go. So back to our list here. Those are the only players from the state of Georgia. Now, Christopher Vazina in the class of 2023 was a Georgia target at the quarterback position. However, this was the Arch Manning class, okay? The moment Georgia realized, oh, we got a shot at Arch, they shut down every recruitment, stopped talking to any quarterback, Christopher Zena included. So there. On the offensive side of the football, boys, that's it. Everywhere else, and here's what I've come to the conclusion of. On the offensive side of the football, Clemson recruits the Carolinas really, really hard. They recruit Tennessee really hard. They recruit the Virginias. They recruit the Virginias really hard. Texas occasionally, like with their quarterback and some of their wide receiver weapons, but not really coming down into this neck of the woods on the offensive side of the football.
Is there a specific reason for that? As in, they just don't see the talent there, or they don't think they have a shot at it, or do you think there's a reason as to why they're not recruiting the state of Georgia heavily when it comes to offense?
I can't figure it out, to be honest with you. I don't know what their strategic model is, or recruiting model is. I don't know what they identify. I know they're super cultural based. Like, is the guy a cultural fit first is one of the very first questions Clemson asks about a football player. It's down the list on a lot of other schools. That might play a role here. Geolocation-wise, I don't understand their tendencies in terms of avoidance of Georgia football players. Because you would think, hey, we struggle at wide receiver. We struggle at tight end. We struggle at running back occasionally. Those are positions that Georgia per capita puts out pretty highly. A lot higher than the state of the Carolinas do.
Yeah.
So just interesting to look at there on the offensive side of the football. Any other takeaways, boys?
It's very weird that they don't even seem to touch the state of Georgia. But other than that,
I want to say it was the 2023 recruiting class when I was looking at it. They took, I want to say, 5 defensive players from the state of Georgia. But yeah, not a single offensive player from the state of Georgia.
And that's where we're going to get into it, right? We're going to go to this defensive side of the football. And I think what you're going to notice is they take a bunch of football players from this state that Georgia isn't really interested in, okay? So let me walk you through this, all right? From the state of Georgia, all right? From the state of Georgia, we've got Avion Terrell, was from Westlake High School, did not receive an offer at all from the University of Georgia. Khalil Barnes was from North Oconee High School, camped at Georgia dozens of times, never left with an offer from the University of Georgia. AJ Hoffler received 45 Power 5 offers from Woodward Academy. No Georgia offer. All right, Vic Burley got a Georgia offer, and we'll get to that one in a little bit. Stephon Green got a Georgia offer. So there's that. D. Creighton from Denmark High School never sniffed a Georgia offer, ended up at Clemson. Sammy Brown got a Georgia offer. Jamal Anderson from Mill Creek High School played alongside Caleb Downs. If anybody got scouted 45 minutes from the University of Georgia, it was, by God, Jamal Anderson. No offer from the University of Georgia. Who else we got here? Shelton Lewis from Stockbridge High School. No offer from the University of Georgia. Heaven Brown Schuler, an offer from the University of Georgia. He makes the list here. Brandon Strozier from St. Francis Private school in Atlanta. No offer from the University of Georgia. It's not St. Francis, by the way. Who else we got? Rob Billings from Milton High School. Won a state title. No offer from the University of Georgia. Here we go. Ricardo Jones received an offer from the University of Georgia. That's a safety out of Warner Robins High School. Noah Dixon, a safety out of Troup County High School. No offer from the University of Georgia. So here we go. On the defensive side of the football alone, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 football players inside the state of Georgia lines. This is the ground in the state that Georgia wants to put a circle around for any takeable football players. Now, here are the takes that they missed out on. We got Vic Burley in here. We got Stephon Green in here. Sammy Brown got an offer in here. Heaven Brown Schuler got an offer in here. Ricardo Jones got an offer in here. That's it, right? So of the, 14? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 of the 14 actually had an offer from Georgia. But let's address these recruitment battles. All right? Vic Burley. I think Georgia wanted solid addition, in-state kid. Warner Robins plays tough football. We'll take him. Stephon Green, same exact scenario. Kid out of Rome High School, really tough, high-quality football player. We'll take him if he wants to come here. However, what we're not going to do for Vic Burley and Stephon Green is go out of this world to make sure that they think we absolutely love them, got to have them. If they did, probably would have landed them, in my opinion, based off having known those recruitments when they were here in the state of Georgia. Sammy Brown, I promise you, if Georgia wanted him, I think Georgia might have got him. Here's why. They obviously had the commitments in Justin Williams that they would have waited on forever. Chris Cole, they would have waited on forever last class. All right, but guess who else? Joe Phillips was a silent commit at one point to the University of Georgia, flipped the next day to Auburn. DeMarcus Riddick was a commitment at the University of Georgia at one point, flipped to Auburn. Those football players received committable opportunities for them. However, Sammy Brown wanted to come to Georgia, he would have been at Georgia. We're going to count that as a miss for the University of Georgia. The real, true miss. We're going to circle his name. I missed one over here, which is our man Barrett Carter. Barrett Carter, 100% a miss. I just remembered. So it's 15 here for the state of Georgia. Don't know how I rolled right past Barrett Carter. All right, so he was 100% a miss. We'll call Sammy Brown a miss. Heaven Brown Schuler got an offer as I think a sophomore. I don't even think Heaven Brown Schuler put Georgia in his top 5 at it. I think it was pretty clear. Not a lot of mutual interest there. Ricardo Jones, the kid out of Warner Robins, that was a late offer in that class, but I believe that's the same class. He's a true freshman here. So that's the same class as last class, where they're after KJ Bolden, heavy. They're after, who's the other safety that they signed last class?
Oh, God.
Either way, KJ Bolden was the star inside the state that they were absolutely hunting right there. I don't know if Ricardo had a committable offer, if you will. So there you go. 15 players of the 15. You only offered 5. Of those 5 that you offered, you would have taken 2 and absolutely had to have one of them, which was Barrett Carter.
Right. So this brings a lot of questions for me. One, do you think that this is because Clemson just doesn't see themselves in the same caliber now to where they can't go out and compete with the guys Georgia wants for the state? Because, it seems like what you're presenting here is Georgia had a lot of guys that they were just like, you can go elsewhere. We're okay with that. We're okay, quote unquote, missing out on you or letting you leave the state.
My opinion of Clemson recruiting, I think Clemson is full of themselves, personally. For example, there is a 5-star defensive tackle, and let's call it south of I-20 here in the state of Georgia. Clemson was in the mix. Clemson midway through was like, hey, we love you. We think you're a cultural fit. We think you might be an offensive lineman.
Wow.
Oh,
This how brazen they can be sometimes with their opinions of their own football players.
Really?
Yeah, 5-star defensive lineman. We think you might be better as an offensive lineman. I had a position coach tell me that on that football team. It's like, hey, who's in the mix? So and so just got cut because they think he's offensive lineman. I was like, what?
hey, coach, me too.
I'm just kidding. I do think they are a little bit holier than thou with their recruiting approach.
So that's almost more alarming then, is that they don't, it's not that they don't see themselves being capable of going up against and, competing with the Georgias and any other school that comes into the state and tries to take the talent. It's more that he's not a fit for us. We're not going to take him.
Yeah, they're huge on the cultural takes, to be honest with you. And they will even bypass physical limitations for cultural takes. D. Creighton is a prime example of this. D. Creighton was a linebacker at a Denmark high school, ran like 4.98, 5 flat at an Under Armour event. And Georgia was like, ooh, nope, can't do that. My guy can't run. Clemson looks at it and they say, you know what? Maybe Jesus will make him run faster. I don't know what they were thinking. But I don't know if D. Creighton ever plays for them in meaningful roles, in meaningful minutes, because they chose to bypass certain physical requirements because cultural adaptations were being made. Okay, so I don't know why they're not seeing each other as much, other than maybe Clemson. And I don't even feel like they got deterred from this because they lost a bunch of recruitment battles.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah, because the fact that they went up against Georgia with Barrett Carter and Sammy Brown and clearly won, that bodes well for your confidence. It has to bode well. It seems like, and like we said, there used to be a lot of crossing paths here in the recruiting trail. So it's not like Clemson just all of a sudden became disinterested in the players that Georgia were disinterested in, other than the fact that maybe they just said, we're shifting more to a cultural fit now. Is this Dabo Swinney doubling down on
missing the obvious, which is Clemson's not seeing Georgia on the recruiting trail anymore because Clemson doesn't pay like Georgia does on the recruiting trail anymore. See what I'm saying?
It could very well be it.
We love Jesus, and I'm going to develop you as a man. I love Jesus too. We're going to develop you as a man. Worked a whole hell of a lot better when I wasn't being offered $250,000.
Well, I think it's also important, too, that you're talking about culture fit. Clemson has to get guys that they feel like are going to stay at Clemson no matter what, because you're not adding anything from the transfer portal. So you have to make sure that your depth does not get demolished or it does not deteriorate over the next 3 years because you got guys leaving your program. You have to get guys that you feel like are going to stick around your program, because if they don't and you're hell-bent on not taking anybody from the transfer portal, then you are screwed.
You know what frustrates me about this? He's been the most vocalized, stubborn football coach about all of this.
Very much so.
NIL, he's been stubborn about the portal. He's been stubborn to his own default. His roster's deteriorated. His wins and losses have deteriorated. And guess what's coming right around the corner? Regulation on all these fronts. He is going to get to hard head, stubborn his way and survive this, because he already has. Unless he goes 7-5, he's not getting fired. He is going to survive this wild, wild west period while standing on his high horse and saying, I can't believe what's happened to our sport. And he's going to come out the other side. And guess what he's going to be? He's going to be even more brazen and even more confirmed in his own thoughts about how right he was. He is going to be so self-righteous on the back end of this stuff because he survived it. I truly believe that. You think Dabo's bad now. You think Dabo is self-righteous and self-aggrandizing now. Wait until he survives the fact that he stood on his high horse and never took transfers and never paid out of pocket for football players and never did any of this stuff that he felt like deteriorated the sport of college football, survives it on the other end, and returns Clemson to glory. You watch.
Well, the problem is, how's he going to return Clemson to glory? Because yes, we know that once revenue split comes, it's going to be easier to acquire players. You're not going to have to worry about this NIL split where you're paying guys. You still need generational talent at quarterback.
Correct.
And I think the only way you're really going to be able to acquire that is, like we said, a bag man. So,
and his ability to have signed those generational quarterbacks has drastically deteriorated since NIL has come around. And so now he's going to be able, once this comes back in, and it's, once you get here, you get $200,000, and then everything else, you got to realistically market yourself, just like every other school. Once it gets back to that model, I think the 5 stars will listen to Clemson a lot more than they. If NIL doesn't play a role, I 100% think David Sanders is a Clemson Tiger right now. I 100% believe that. because it was Clemson the whole way until all of a sudden it's Tennessee, Ohio State, and Nebraska. What got involved? I think I got a good guess. And he talked about proximity being close to home, or that was the reports yesterday by David Sanders, right? Proximity. I went to Tennessee, or we think he chose Tennessee. Ohio State reporters are telling you we think he chose Tennessee because he didn't want to leave far from home. Clemson's in his backyard. It's 90 minutes from Providence Day High School. He would be a Clemson Tiger right now if NIL weren't around. And NIL's not going to be around in 18 months from this standpoint of, you want as much as our entire offensive line room, David? We'll give it to you, baby. Just come. He's going to survive, and he's going to be self-righteous. You watch.
Sure.
I don't know. I just can't see Dabo surviving this. I don't see Clemson with the model that they currently have getting back to the Clemson that we saw pushing 8 years ago, pushing 5 years ago. Like I think that era of Clemson football is coming past. Now, NIL brought that passing a lot quicker, but I don't think you're going to be able to just build that back. I mean, let's not forget, it took Dabo Swinney 5 or 6 years to get that Clemson team to where it was competing for national titles.
And he's gone from recruiting inside the top 8 perennially. NIL comes around, transfer portal, all that good stuff. He clearly shows an avoidance of wanting to bend to the times, and his recruiting classes have drastically dropped every single year. And I'm telling you, when this regulation comes, they're going right back up. Well, their recruiting will improve.
Transfer portal is not going to get regulated, though. Like, they're still going to be...
No, but your ability to just buy a great player out of the portal will be regulated. You're not just going to be able to give Keon Coleman $300,000 to come play for a year.
True.
So I do think it will help them out.
Yeah.
And it will hurt the teams that have been improved during the Wild Wild West periods. Regulation is going to hurt Tennessee. I hate to say that. You probably don't believe me when I say I hate to say that as a Tennessee fan, but I do. I think it's good for college football to have, Ole Miss be able to buy their way into a national title contending roster. I think that's good for college football. I just don't think that's what we're going to have in 18 months. So there's that. A good little discussion right there about that Clemson roster. A totally different circumstance than I feel like where it was just several years ago. And if you extend that into the 2025 class, I don't think they're competing for a single football player in this state right now.
I don't think so.
Nope.
The highest ranked recruit in this state that they've taken this year is Braden Jacobs, and I don't think Georgia even offered.
Huh.
So there you go. Complete avoidance of one another on the recruiting trail. Georgia recruits really well. They have for 8 years now under Kirby Smart. They did pretty well previously to that or prior to that. But when you recruit well, boys, and you win football games, you presume if I recruit well and we play well, I must have developed said talent pretty well. And the draft record of Kirby Smart football players would lead you to believe that they have indeed drafted well. Or produced well and had players drafted. Do you know the number of football players that you can accredit Kirby Smart with that have been drafted in the NFL since 2007-16?
I know the official number is like 56 of like players since 2016.
Yeah, and we're going to say 2 of those didn't count for him.
Okay.
54 players that Kirby Smart has signed to a scholarship at the University of Georgia have been drafted by NFL football teams. Of those 54 football players, do you know how many of them are no longer on NFL rosters?
I'm gonna guess like a quarter's worth. Because I mean, he's been a coach for 8 years. I mean, you've had to imagine some guys have probably gotten cycled out.
I don't know, like 18, 19, something like that.
18, 19 football players
something
that aren't on rosters anymore.
Sure,
it's 10.
Oh, really?
It's 10. 44 of the 54 players Kirby Smart has had drafted and that he signed out of high school. So 4/5 of the football players that he's put in the league. Still in the league, and going to be in the league for a long time. So it makes the statement of if you get a player from Georgia, you get an NFL pro pretty solid. Statistically, 80% chance. And D'Amico Ryans kind of hit the nail on the head today with an exact statement as such.
Yeah, he turned a question about how Kamari had been playing in training camp because he hasn't played in the preseason yet. I think that's also something that should be of note. It has been said that he hasn't been playing because of injury, but it also feels like maybe they just
Healthy
aren't
scratch.
playing him. Yeah, because he's been that impressive. And Kamari's been a player that the Texans and D'Amico Ryans have raved about the entire offseason. But when he was asked about Kamari, he turned it into basically a Georgia advertisement for Kirby Smart. He said, for Kamari, you can tell he's built for this. Like when it comes to the mental toughness piece that plays a lot into being a good football player, you have to be mentally tough. You have to have that next play mentality. And at Georgia, Kirby has done a great job, you can tell, of raising them the right way. Kirby's done a great job with all of these guys, having them NFL ready to go. And that's the thing you see from Georgia year after year since he has been there. Like those guys are plug-and-play type players, and it's a credit to him and his program and how they run things there. You get a Georgia guy, you know you're getting an NFL guy.
Say what now?
He's been doing this.
That's what I was about to say is, and nobody just listened to
No,
I'm just kidding. I heard it all.
No, I'm saying our listeners.
I heard it all. Huh.
He's all over the place.
He
Yeah,
must
he
have had
is.
the answer. I mean, dude, we're 7.5 hours into content this week. Give me a break. I got a text message I got to respond to. Anybody know where Ernest Rankins goes to school?
Can't say that I do.
No.
But no, going back to what you said, Jay, well, it is evident that NFL coaches, NFL GMs see the kind of product that Kirby Smart puts on the field with his players. Like you see, it's not just D'Amico Ryans that says this. Most every school that takes a player from Georgia continuously goes back. Green Bay does this a lot. The Packers do this a lot. I mean, you've seen Pittsburgh does this a lot, and they all say they're NFL ready guys. By the time we get there, there's not as much of an acclimation period. So Kirby Smart is clearly doing something right when it comes to development.
You want to play a game?
Love to.
Can you name the 10 players who are no longer on NFL rosters?
Oh, wow. All right, well, we know Richard LeCount is one.
Richard LeCount is indeed one.
DeAndre Baker.
DeAndre Baker is indeed
Baker.
Walker. And DeAndre Baker.
And
You're
DeAndre,
right. You're right.
So you gave us another.
Terry Godwin. I would have to imagine he's in the USFL as well.
Terry Godwin.
Was Isaac Nada counted?
Isaac Nada was counted. He signed in January of 2016.
Okay.
Kirby, he would have been basically one of Kirby's first true commitments.
Yeah.
Isaiah Wilson is not.
Bang. That's one.
How many do we have left?
There's another offense.
You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or excuse me, 6 left. There's 3 offensive linemen.
Let's
left.
Lamont Galliard.
Yeah,
Lamont Gaillard is how you pronounce that?
Oh.
Lamont Gaillard is indeed out of the league.
Justin Schaefer's not with the Falcons anymore.
Justin Schaefer is indeed a free agent.
One more.
Tay Crowder. He's recently out.
Tay Crowder, Mr. Irrelevant, is indeed out of the league. All right, so you guys have gotten 8 of the 11.
Wow.
There's 3 left. One.
Positions, please.
There is a wide receiver left, and 1 offensive lineman left, and 1 DB left.
It's not Trey Hill. He's still in the league.
Trey Hill is still in the league with the Cincinnati Bengals.
It's who's on Miami?
Oh, Solomon Kinley.
Solomon Kinley is out of the league.
Wide receiver Javon Wims is not.
Wasn't drafted.
Yeah. Oh, Riley Ridley.
Riley Ridley. Bing, 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 bing. We're down to 1 name, boys.
Defensive back.
This is the one name you don't want to be. You want to be picked last here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we get a era when he played? Like
DB.
Recent, big, long, couldn't cover. Mississippi State got him on a 65-yard tud.
Oh. It's not Tyreek Stevenson. He wore
one syllable name, first and last.
Mark Webb.
There you go.
I would say he wore number. I could see him. He wore number 23.
23. Do y'all remember that play against Mississippi State?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was so comical. It was so comical. Georgia fans were in my mentions. They need to get out of zone. Oh my God, get out of zone. Will Rogers. Oh, what are we doing? We're playing soft. They go man covers one time, 65-yard bomb. Mark Webb head top. It was insane. I laughed my ass off. Will Rogers played the goddamn game of his life. Dude, as a true freshman, completes like 84% of his balls on 44 attempts on the road in Sanford Stadium. Georgia fans, all in my shit. Why are we playing zone? Why are we playing? Because no one can play man against them. LSU tried that year and gave up 700 yards of total offense.
Coming back to that, I do very much remember that because that was fresh off the Florida loss.
We're rushing 3. Why are we getting after the quarterback? And yeah, people asking, does Brooks really think I sound like that? The people in my mentions acting like dipshits on Saturdays, You sound just like that. When I read it, oh my God, Carson Beck's terrible. We didn't get him out. That's exactly what you sound like.
Yeah, I do not.
Carson Beck gonna go down with who was our man that tweeted about this? Carson Beck gonna go down with Hudson Mason.
Oh man,
This is a credential media member, by the way.
yeah.
Love that one. Love that. Carson Beck's gonna go down as Hudson Mason.
2 games into his Georgia career, we're already giving that
Shit,
take.
6 quarters.
Yeah. That was quite the take.
I don't look at Discord on Saturday.
Well, that was not a
You don't
Discord.
look at Discord generally.
That's not true. I've
That
been
was-
trying to
People have
pick
been
it up.
asking for your peanut butter recipe for 3 days.
That was on Maine, bro. That was
On
put
the main, bro.
And again, like you said, that was a Georgia media member.
I'm just saying in general, I don't look at Discord on Saturday.
Well, it's hard
that
for us
reason.
because we have a lot going on
We do.
Saturdays. But yeah, I forgot about that one.
Is that the worst take of last year?
yeah,
worst
it's
Georgia
gotta
related
be.
take?
Gotta be.
That was crazy.
The
But yeah,
willingness to tweet it.
the Mississippi State game, was that 2020?
2020
Yeah.
is COVID year. I was there.
Yeah, man. Twas. As was I. Oh, I said twas that way. As was I.
JT Daniels' legacy.
Legacy game. Big time.
Man,
Oh, dude, I got cooked after that one. Wasn't that his big breakout
that
game?
was his 400-yard
Yeah.
game. That was his
Yeah.
first start.
People on Twitter, first SEC start. People on
That
Twitter
was
were
it was his first start at Georgia.
really?
They only played SEC teams that year.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Interesting.
So I mean, you're not wrong, but
I was wrong. Because I had just released prior that offseason. Hey, y'all be easy on this. He's a 5-star video. Remember that? I did a JT Daniels
yeah.
film breakdown
I remember
where I was
thinking
like,
that
guys,
too.
20 yards and in, great. 20 yards beyond, don't love this. Also, don't love the deep ball. It tends to underthrow a lot of stuff. Also, don't love the decisions with the ball. Also, don't love the physical capabilities of this individual. And laid this all out on Twitter. And all the angry Georgia fan wanted to hear was, wait a minute. You're telling me this former 5-star we just got isn't a 5-star? I hate you. And then the moment he went for 400 against Mississippi State, my mentions were flooded. Absolutely flooded. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. Did I win that one in the back end?
for sure,
Ultimately, yeah.
for sure.
All right. We'll take the dub.
He started like 6 more games and had to transfer twice. You
JT
definitely
Daniels'
won that.
film study, was that your flag posted in this market, you would say?
No, I would say Sugar Bowl film study after Baylor. I felt like, that to this day, I think it's one of our highest viewed videos. I
feel like a lot of people I talk to, they say like, oh yeah, I remember finding Brooks for the JT Daniels film study. I think that's how I found you.
Yeah, probably the hottest takey one.
I found you after the 2020 Bama game when they just cooked Georgia's
Everyone
defense,
was
and
searching
you
for
were going
answers.
through the body types, and you're like, look at the changes that.
Oh yeah, that was great. The offensive line body type changes.
I remember watching them and be
God,
like,
that was great
I was
content.
like, wait a minute, no one else is talking about this.
He's kind of cooking right now.
I was like 17.
Wait a minute, somebody cooked here.
He's cooking right now.
Look at us now, dude.
Look at us now. You know, the byproduct of what happens if you just ask. You know what I mean? If you ask and work hard, ask first, work hard second. There you go. You might end up across the way from somebody in their mom's basement.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff. All right. We got a lot of time to kill here, boys. Where should we go next?
We got a good bit of topics left.
We do. I want to talk about why Kirby would be pissed. So I look on my social medias today, going through the timeline, and I see a video of Major Burns being quoted as telling someone, if you ain't going to be a, quote, thug, sorry for the little kids listening, get your pussy ass off the field. Tweeted a video of Major Burns reportedly saying this. However, it's not what Major Burns said. If you watch the video, it got deleted because the SID department had to run this guy down because of what I'm telling you about. This is media being allowed into practice at LSU, and media members, instead of, I don't know, just rolling B-roll clip of practice or whatever, there was a media member that decided, I'm going to do 2 things today. One, I'm going to tweet out any scandalous audio that I possibly get that might make me go viral. Like what I think is Major Burns telling someone to be a thug or get his pussy ass out, when in reality, all he was doing was telling his teammate, we are in a thud period. Thud, not thug. We are in a thud period. If you don't want a thud, get your pussy ass out. That is what he said. Instead, we're talking about how he's telling his teammates to be a thug. That's rule number one. What are we doing? Other thing, what are we doing? We let media in with cameras and we allow them to video practice. So instead of video practice, what's a media member going to do? He's going to put a straight B-roll shot on the defensive line coach that just got there and just wait for him to motherfuck somebody. And then the moment he does, he's going to tweet it out. Woo! 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 LSU coaches really getting after players today. He told a player, that guy's a freshman. No effing way you should allow him to push you off the ball. Buddy, if media members were doing this to my team, you wouldn't be in either. You would not be in the practice. You would not be allowed to have video at practice. You would not be allowed to take audio at practice. You would not be, because all you're doing when you're out here is trying to go viral off a scandalous moment at my practice. Get the F out of here.
Brian Kelly might make the media watch from the tower from now on.
Just not allowed on the field. We're going to stick you in the tower.
Mm-hmm.
I think win rates are as high down there, so I think you might be safe.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
I mean, yeah, it seems like it would make sense that you wouldn't allow people to. I mean, I remember this year, an Atlanta Falcons beat reporter was just recording their scrimmages during training camp, and that's open to the public. But he was recording them and posting them all over Twitter, and he had to get asked to stop posting those because, dude, you can't be posting us running our offensive plays and stuff on social media. It's that's not allowed. You posting those clips is certainly not allowed or should not be allowed. So, I mean, everybody, we sit here and sometimes question gosh, we wish there was more availability in the Georgia program. And then this happens. It's this makes so much sense. Kirby Smart is a genius, because why would you want anybody lurking around your program like that and have accessibility to that?
Well, I mean, it's the trade-off, because Brian Kelly's a relatively new coach in the space, so you still need to get a good rapport with your boosters, with your media members, and that I would have to imagine this is why he's letting members go. But when you do that, you're adding all these headaches of having to corral media members and make sure they're putting out certain things and not filming this, and you would have to imagine availability for media members at practice goes down drastically at LSU now.
And look, man, you can let them in, but you just don't need to let them have a video camera in their hand. I mean, I felt like that one, it was a local TV station. I felt like that dude had microphones so good, it was almost like he had the coach mic'd up. Coach is clear across the sideline at the numbers on the other sideline, and you could hear him clear as day. To me, the only word, crazy. I mean, it's crazy to allow that type of stuff to go out about your football program. You're right. Plays nuts. Absolutely nuts.
What do you think the TV station thought about it? Because he put the logo on it too and everything, of course.
Put the logo and then had to have it deleted. I wonder if he had to have it deleted because of the content or because he improperly reported the content.
It's probably a little bit both. I mean, they're probably this is a really bad look for you. You should take it down.
Yeah. And look, Chad's talking about, football people said bad words. That's not really the point. The point is it got out about their program, right? Their program's coaches were saying bad words. And though 95% of us are grown adults and we don't mind hearing the F word, I still get comments every once in a while about, hey, will you stop saying the F word? So there are some people who care, right? And if at any moment we can 100% assure that there is no percentage chance that we're going to expose ourselves to this type of blowback, then we're going to do it. We're going to do it as a football coach, particularly in college.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting. And I also understand, hey, man, this is why it's done this way at certain programs. I also understand why Kalen DeBoer changed that up when he got to Alabama. Because what better for me as a brand new football coach following the legend to make sure all of the media members freaking love me.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, you know who's going to get a shitload of pub pieces from Chip Towers when he gets a job? The next guy that gets the head coach job at Georgia. Because he's going to have to give media access. And people are going to love him. They're like, oh my God, we love this guy. He's so nice to us. So they're giving you stern looks when you ask about suspensions. Pied Piper.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing for someone like Kalen DeBoer is for media members to be at your program and be at your practices and get to tweet, Ryan Williams just made an insane one-handed catch. This guy looks like the real deal. It's we got something cooking in Tuscaloosa. I like this. Anything positive is going to come out of that because media members are excited to be there.
Josh Heupel, first thing he did at Tennessee. Hey, media members, we got summer camps all summer. We're going to be inviting prospects up all summer. Y'all want to hang out in the lobby? Y'all want to get interview access to the 5 stars that we bring up? Come on. Because stand outside the football facility. You're right there. Hey, matter of fact, we'll open the doors for you. You can stand inside the football building, and while we do all of our stuff, you can work out in the lobby. That's what you can do here. Now, you got to be a credentialed media member for like 3.5 years, and we're going to make it a good old boys club to make sure you're a good person and you treat us right and you never say bad things. But we're going to give you all the access in the world because we love you, media. Make sure you say nice things about us.
Algorithm.
Algo. What were you about to say?
It makes sense as to why you see these newer coaches doing it. And I don't think it's Brian Kelly's fault that this happened. Like, it's a product of you allowing media members who probably don't have that much background in understanding the sport of football and are just looking for the story like, oh, look at this player chewing out another player, or the coach chewing out other players. This is great B-roll. It's going to go viral. Like, that's the mind of a journalist. There's no football IQ in that. So you understand why it was happening.
I wish that's not how our business rewarded us. You were rewarded off of virality nowadays. Right. And I don't love that because I know that people that do my job do it almost not scandalously, but searching for certain things. They want the thing they want someone to say the thing so they can go write about the thing, right? They want to have someone say something so they can title the article a certain way. They're always looking for certain things that will get people to click on it instead of just the presumed read, right? Back in the day when you wrote your column and it got published in the newspaper and it showed up on everyone's doorstep, I didn't have to work for your read. I had to work to keep you reading once you got there, but you were reading it anyways. It was part of your daily habit. Nowadays, your daily habit is scrolling through a timeline and you're only stopping on the first thing that grabs you. So as a media personality, as a media person, most people approach that as that's what I need to be doing. I need to be seeking out those things that are going to get people to click. And guess what? Now we got this whole clickbait generation, and that's what is caused this, what spurned it.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because you do have people that are going to try to make a living out of strictly doing that and getting clickbait things and going viral, but you just have to out-quality them.
Journalists out here looking for the foos. You're right, baby. They're out here looking for the foos. All right, if you had to guarantee one win this football season, what would it be?
Who wants to go first on this?
You got it.
Don't all jump at once.
Well, I'm logging the timestamp right now.
I'll go first on this, and it's kind of a interesting. Most people would say Bama simply because of the history you have with Alabama, the idea of if you can be guaranteed to win in Tuscaloosa, one of your arguably toughest games. I want to go Texas, guarantee that win, because I think that's going to be your hardest remaining game by the time it comes. What?
No, I was nodding at him off camera to let him know he's next.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
But so that's going to be your toughest remaining game by the time it comes. Bama will be in the window. If you win that rear view, if you win that game, great. If you lose it, you're still going to be in the playoff hunt. Texas is the game that could potentially keep you out of the playoff hunt or set you up for really big and put you in a very tough situation. So if you can guarantee me that you're winning the Texas game, I would feel great about going and having the playoff shots. Whereas if you guarantee the Bama game, you still got to beat Texas. You still have a tough game against Ole Miss on the road. You still got to play Tennessee. I think Texas is at that point where if you're guaranteed that win, the rest of your season looks very promising.
Ooh, don't let Smooth see this chat right about now.
Yeah, don't let Smooth hear this take I'm about to give. I think it is Alabama that I would guarantee the one win against for Georgia, because not only is it the first one on the schedule for you amongst these three big road games, and it would provide you so much momentum, but I think that's just the win that every Georgia fan would want more than anything this year, because it is the team that you have the most history with on the schedule. It is a team that you would like to be able to tell you the tides are turning. It's our rivalry now. Like this, things are taking a turn now that Nick Saban isn't there. This is ours to take, and I think. Again, I think it just provides you a lot of momentum. And if you can snag the first one, you feel a lot more comfortable about going 2-1 against those teams rather than you lose to Alabama. It's like, oh, now we got to go 2-0 against Ole Miss and Texas. Like, I think that it just puts you in a much better spot if you go ahead and get the Alabama win.
I chose Ole Miss because it's the last big one, and you can't lose last big ones anymore unless you're undefeated going into it. And I don't know if that's 100% going to be the case, because I think Alabama and Texas are the tougher of the three matchups. Mm-hmm. But I think if you can guarantee me one win, give me the Ole Miss win, because you lose late to them. Your only good game left is Tennessee, and hoping and praying that Tech is a ranked opponent. Mm-hmm. Because other than that, your last big road challenge is going to be a loss in the minds of the college football playoff. Give me the Ole Miss win, guaranteed.
Out of those 3 games, which one do you think Georgia has the best chance of winning?
Ole Miss. I think they'll be favored by like 3 points against Texas. I think they'll be favored by almost the same exact line on the road against Alabama. I think they'll be favored in both games. They'll be favored by almost a touchdown, I think, on the road against Ole Miss. Like 6.5.
Yeah, and I mean, you also have to entertain the idea that what does Ole Miss roster look at that point? Like, depending on how that season's gone for that team.
Or just the morale.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, depending on how the season's gone, that roster could have checked out by now, and it's not anything, or it's not even playing at the caliber that it could be at, just because, hey, we're 2 losses. We don't really have much to fight for. So,
plus, I mean, Pete Golding is the defensive coordinator. Pete Golding had great defensive athletes at Alabama. And I think there's just kind of this assumption that now that Ole Miss has some great defensive athletes that they got from the transfer portal, that defense is just going to look completely different and all their problems are going to be solved. There were a lot of issues with Pete Golding's defense at Alabama with really, really world-class athletes on his roster. There's a reason why he is no longer at Alabama. So I think it's important to kind of pump the brakes of just assuming that the defensive woes are solved.
Got way too complex at Alabama. They had way too many busted assignments because of the complexity, simplified things a little bit last year at Ole Miss and just tried to play a bend, don't break style of defense. I think it still allowed like 24 points per game, but it wasn't near as bad as the year before out there at Ole Miss. I think those are all no one answering a guaranteed win outside of those 3 football games, though, right? No one's saying guarantee me the Tennessee or Auburn win. No. It's just
I think,
those 3.
I think you feel you only want the guarantees because those are the 3 games where it's like, yeah, if we were going to lose, it would probably be one of these 3. So to be able to guarantee and say, okay, I don't have to worry about losing to Bama this year, losing to Texas. So that's probably why you would want those guarantees.
Just
tape.
Oh. I got you. I thought you were saying like
no. Not that it had already happened. I want to watch the tape
because I was about to go to.
No, we're on the fly adding a player of the day to the show notes. Is what we're doing right now. I love that too. I love a little grindage of the tape here on the Film Guy Network.
Before we segue to that, what do you think of the broadcast team for this Clemson game?
It's McElroy and who else?
McDonough.
I like them. I honestly,
they don't usually work together though, do they?
I don't think so. ESPN's rattling or shifting their whole thing because of all the firing that they've been doing lately. I will say this about McElroy. McElroy, more than any other analyst in this business, says things where I read and I listen to the quote and I'm like, you know what? I think I would have said that. I think I said that exact take the exact way he did. And I found this being a self-absorbed human that I am, where Greg gets the credit for a take that I delivered months previously on this channel that no one watches except for the thousands of people watching tonight. So yeah, I like McElroy. I think of all of the former football players, he just talks football. He is not there to give a take. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I love Robert, and I love Robert Griffin, but I feel like he's there to give a hot take.
Robert Griffin was an entertainer.
Correct. Greg is an analyst. Greg's going to say exactly what he thinks. He's not going to say what he feels like he needs to say or give the take that his producer's telling him he needs to give or anything along those lines. I feel like Greg is a very much so straight shooter's the wrong or the overused term there, but he's just an authentic take giver in my opinion. So I'm fine with it. I like McDonough too.
Yeah, good score.
I think McDonough is an underrated one.
Yeah, and I think McDonough got a shit into the stick following the wasn't he the crew after Gruden, or did he work with Gruden?
I don't remember.
Kind of blurs for me a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
I think McDonough gets a lot of bad press because of his multiple voice cracks during the trouble with the snap.
Oh, from Georgia folks?
No, just in general. Do you remember the Michigan State game where Michigan punter fumbled the snap? Go back and listen to that call.
It's brutal.
He has like 4 voice cracks.
Iconic.
It's iconic.
I might go listen to that right now.
And the ball is free.
Have you not seen it?
No, I'm gonna go listen to it.
You
after
should.
This.
You should.
Last play of the game. It's so
Phil.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of it's engraved in my mind. I can hear it as authentic as it was when I was watching it when it happened.
Yeah, like the moment you watch that game, you're like, holy shit, I can't believe that just happened. And then you rewind it back and you're like, wait, listen to how he sounds right here. He
gave it his all, and he just kept pushing and pushing.
Yeah, I mean,
it honestly makes.
That's Jay. No, that's Jay Will actually. That's not Sean McDonough.
It
How many
honestly
tabs
makes
do you have-
7,000 audios right
How many tabs do you have open? of
it
that?
honestly makes the call so much better.
Yeah, it makes it more iconic. Like, yeah. Right here. Just wait.
Michigan State. Oh yeah. Honestly, you know what, Sean? I'm gonna give Sean some credit here. All he was trying to do in that moment is match the intensity of
Yeah,
that
no.
moment.
I
His
have no.
voice shit out on
No,
it.
and it
Yeah.
makes it great.
Yeah, it makes
I
it
love
great.
it.
That would happen. Like you'd be young, have a coach yelling at you, and they do that, and you have to not laugh.
First comment: the announcer was so shocked he went through puberty again.
Yeah, so like stuff like that. I feel like Sean McDonough gets a bad rep for that, but
Oh, whoops. Sorry,
it's okay.
gonna have to mute that again. Yeah, good call, Sean McDonough, Greg McElroy, like it. Player of the day.
Player of the day. Who we
Let's
got?
do it. Player of the day. All right. We have Shane Marshall, the current Minnesota commit. He is a running back out of somewhere in South Georgia. What school is this?
I
Either way.
remember.
All right. Let's watch some Shane Marshall tape. If my memory serves me, Shane Marshall, oh my God. Shane Marshall measured in this summer at 5'11", 205, 38.5-inch vertical. Did not run the 40 at camp, but I think they had some GPS on them. I think they're fine with whatever measurables they have on the speed metrics here. This is him playing against Fitzgerald. I'll tell you that right now. So he's definitely
a
South
blocking
Georgia.
snap first clip.
Oh, we got an option squad, little wishboneage.
Dude, I haven't seen Wishbone since I was like 6.
Oh, he's rocking that 2-4 with some dreads too. I like this.
Irwin County.
Irwin County.
He's got that.
That's
head,
him against Schley right there.
He's got that head lean sprint.
I think, yeah, that's him against Schley County right there. Oh, come on, Zayden. No. Georgia commit right here. I always love when I find them on not their highlight tape. You know why? I'm finna find out who you are. You know what I mean? I'm about to find out who you are. At least that one play that you didn't want to show me. And this is not a great play from Zayden Walker. Here he is right here. Let's watch. This looks like a loaf if I could classify it. Now, Zayden Walker plays both ways, does not come off the field for Schley County. He looks gassed. We'll give him that. That is some speed right there from Shane Marshall as well. Feels a little squatty, doesn't he?
Yeah. I was going to say that when he looks like he's running a little low to the ground.
He got some glutes on him, though.
Oh, for sure.
Gluteus maximus, not minimus, here on this individual. Ooh, short area quickness, point him out. How about the QB getting a block?
House that.
Then crib. A number change mid-season, too.
Yeah.
24-5. Definitely looks way better in the 5. Way better in the 5. Are you about to...
I was 24.
Oh!
That's a Zamir White Clemson run.
Landon quit football right here.
Yeah, he did.
Buddy, what was your plan
That's
there?
a land. That is a land.
When you just fall back and you're limp, it's
Dad said, I think we need to pick up lacrosse. Some speed here. It's giving me in-state
Oh my
depth take if we take
goodness.
it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's giving me the same exact vibes I got, different vibes from a different style of play, a little bit more of a burner than Dejon. But they took Dejon Edwards in 2020 for the same exact reasons. Hey, we got Kendall Milton wrapped up. We're chasing maybe this Zach Evans cat. We might end up doing this. We're not going to do it. Hey, where's Dejon at? Here he is right here.
This kid very much reminds me of someone that you see in garbage time in their freshman and sophomore years that
Like, damn, dude's pretty good.
just runs over a linebacker and the fans are like, I want to see more of that. That guy, he reminds me of Herschel Walker or Nick Chubb.
Who is this? That's Fitzgerald again.
Good cutback time.
Fitzgerald, home of
Oh, I know. I was just thinking of it. Don't tell me. Linebacker.
Plays at Georgia Tech now.
Yes. Shoot. Don't tell me.
Oh, I'm not.
He's got good breakaway speed.
He does. He got good long speed.
It doesn't.
EJ Lightsey.
EJ Lightsey.
It doesn't look like it when he's running, but he's pulling away.
Yeah. I like the short area quickness too. His jump cuts in this tape have been really, really good. He's got some ball skills too.
Good
Obviously, had a one-hand catch, just high-pointed there. Let's look for some more of that short area quickness, him making guys miss like that right there. As soon as he gets back vertical, he's got like an extra gear. That first step after a cut is what's really, really elite. Like right here, the moment from this spot to about right here, watch him gain speed really, really quickly, shot out of a cannon. And then from this spot right here, when he jumps again and right there, that second step, he pulls away from that backside safety. There's some good long speed and good short area quickness here from our man, Shane Marshall. Obviously committed currently to Minnesota. This is a matter of Georgia has pushed and will continue to push. We'll see ultimately if they end up landing him. History says you push for a Minnesota commit from the state of Georgia, you're probably going to get him.
No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Because PJ Fleck be making you stand up and give him a round of applause when that bald head MFer come in the room.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Is he on the hot seat at all?
I only make fun of you for being bald if you are a cult leader, which is exactly what PJ Fleck is.
What's PJ Fleck's job security right now?
Rode a damn boat.
That's 5 years ago, though.
I don't know.
Like PJ,
You think the athletic director has to carry around a 3-ring binder?
Nah.
And if you ask the athletic director, how are you doing today? Do you think he makes him say, I'm an elite coach?
I don't know if you can do that to the people that are signing your paychecks.
Yeah, I don't know.
You think so?
Not a good idea.
PJ Fleck is a very weird thing to me.
Yeah.
Because you had that 1 year in 2019, you beat Penn State, and everyone was row the boat, and we love it. And then it just kind of immediately went dark.
Mm-hmm. Probably the cult mentality. You know, a guy who doesn't have his local media support, PJ Fleck. That's how we get the cult articles being written about him. We good?
Yeah, we good.
We good.
Love it.
No.
You want to talk about Dom Lovett?
We're elite.
Oh, we're elite. I see what
We
you did
can
there.
talk about Dom Lovett if you want.
I'm good. We have a whole nother show coming tomorrow. We'll see you. Love you. Bye. Oh, shout out.